welcome to another special bonus episode of Rebels Without a Pod. My name is John, and this is another of our new experimental format, The Adults Are All Right, where we talk to extended family and friends in the hope of gaining wisdom. Joining me again tonight is my father, Peter, and Uncle Normie. Here to have a couple drinks and talk about the good old days. Gentlemen, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for having us back again.
Yeah.
Do I get any royalties from?
I was just
as soon as we start getting paid, we'll be putting those checks in the mail.
Could we get something in writing from you?
We can give it to you on audio for now, and if you send $1 to Naveen, he'll send you a transcript.
This could be, similar to NIL for college students.
NIL.
It's name, image, likeness.
Name, image, likeness.
Huh.
That's it. That's a thing from college basketball.
Yeah, they're paying athletes now.
It was a big controversy for a long time.
It's going to get really controversial. It already is. Everything is. They've got the portal now.
Mm-hmm. Well, the controversy was despite the college basketball games making millions of dollars between the video games and merchandise,
exactly.
and using these kids, their names and their likenesses and everything else.
Athletes were being promoted based on how famous they were making themselves.
Right. But there was also many situations of, despite a lot of these athletes bringing in so much revenue to the sponsorship companies, they wouldn't see a dime of it, and a very substantial portion of these players would not see any revenue, would not go on to have kind of professional careers and end up in sort of relative amounts of poverty.
Not every college athlete goes on to pro careers.
Sure.
I mean, it was supposed to be amateur sports. It's not anymore.
Right.
Look at that. Cheers.
Cheers.
What's the Japanese expression?
Kanpai. Skål is the Norwegian
right.
impression.
I'm always getting the Norwegians and the Japanese mixed up.
Well, that's
they don't look alike.
I certainly could speak to that. This is called the Kurayoshi pure malt whiskey, coming from Matsuki Whiskey Distillery.
This is like the stuff Jackie Gleason must have been drinking. Remember, he always took a drink at the start, and you go, woo. Well, that was more like Bob Marshall. But
No, this is. I don't drink whiskeys, and now I know why.
They're too good.
They're too good. Yeah.
Especially the Japanese ones.
They got good at it very, very quickly when they.
They're very good.
When did they start making whiskeys in Japan?
So it was around the 1800s, and there's a very famous story of one of the founders. I think it's of the Nika whiskey distillery in northern Japan.
Who brought that to them, though? Was it the Europeans?
They discovered it trading with the Europeans, and then they sent people actually out to Europe to figure out how to make it themselves. And so the founder of Nika Distillery, he originally went out to Scotland to study chemical engineering, discovered whiskey while he was out there, quit his post at university, got involved with the whiskey distilleries out there, met and married a Scottish woman, and this is in about the late 1800s.
Jeez.
Brought her back with him to Japan. His marriage to a foreigner like that was a source of kind of a lot of kind of attention and
I would
a
say
fair amount of controversy at the time. But the distillery he ended up founding, and I think that was the whiskey that I brought here last time, ended up becoming one of the most beloved and kind of highest rated of the entire country.
Did she have red hair, you think?
I think she had very bright red hair. And
that would have really caused a lot. I mean, there's no blondes in Japan.
There's no redheads either.
There's no redheads either.
Yeah.
They're all black hair.
Uh-huh.
Jet black hair.
Yeah.
An interesting thing, my girlfriend and I visited the Tokyo Science Museum not too long ago. I was telling Dad this story.
Yeah.
But something that I noticed is so down in the basement, they have all these exhibits on the most famous and accomplished Japanese physicists, chemists, and a long line of photos of any Japanese scientist that has won like a Nobel Prize.
Oh, nice.
And the thing that I noticed with dozens and dozens and dozens of them is they all had huge beards, huge mustaches, giant mutton chops. It was a consistent thing across the 50 or so Japanese scientists that have won Nobel Prizes.
Huh.
And I was looking at these, and I turned to my girlfriend. I'm like, why do all of these men have like these big ridiculous mustaches? And she told me that the best Japanese scientists back in the day would all train in Germany.
Right.
So all these guys would go out to Germany to kind of to do their doctorates, to do their postdoc studies with these at these German universities, become completely infatuated with the facial hairstyle, and come back with these giant handlebar mustaches.
Like they were Germans.
Wow.
Right. Imitations, this is the serious form of flattery. And that's what they like that look. They say, so what the smart guys look like. Well, we're going to look like that too. But it does make it look more distinguished.
Yeah.
A little nutty, but distinguished.
Well, the Germans are definitely no slouches when it comes to innovation and engineering.
They're smart.
Innovation in facial hair too.
Yeah, exactly.
So the last conversation that we had, which by the way, it has been told to me by my coworker Naveen. I never get texts like this otherwise, but the repeated text message that he was just sending to me when he was doing like the levels and editing for the conversation he had, he just kept saying, "This is one of the funniest things that we've ever done on the podcast." And
I'd feel better if we weren't trying to be funny.
But he sent me this photo, this image, just of the waveform from the audio of the recording that he did, and Naveen says it's a very strange waveform because it looks like you're all very, very quiet at the start of this conversation,
that's true.
and all incredibly loud by the end of it. So he could tell.
Couldn't stop laughing.
He could tell how it built, not even listening to the audio itself,
right.
just looking at the visualization.
The thing I really got from that is that's the first time I really heard an in-depth discussion from Norm about his experiences at Woodstock. I mean, I'd heard little bits in the past, bits and pieces, but to hear him go on like that, I mean, that was a privilege to hear that, because not that many people stayed there like he did, because he doesn't care if he gets rained on or if there's lightning. He doesn't care. He just stayed and stayed and stayed.
Because that was the famous thing about Woodstock, right? Is sort of by the end of the weekend, it had descended completely into just bedlam.
Well, it was overrun. Number one, more people showed up than they anticipated would ever show up, and of course that really stripped out all the food and other services.
Like the medical, the toilets, everything else.
What'd they do for toilet paper?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know? What'd you do? You don't know.
No.
Well, you had paper? You brought toilet paper with you?
Maybe that first, podcast was very successful, but it's really hard to repeat things on a scale of greatness like Woodstock, right? It was never repeated.
Woodstock is a one and done.
It could only be one and done, and they tried it again, but it was never
Woodstock '99, just like a bit of a black eye from my generation.
That's right. Now, last fall, WPKN here in Bridgeport did a 4-day broadcast, full broadcast of the full recording of Woodstock. And it was all of the announcements that were made from the stage.
But it was all better recorded than the movie, than the audio in the movie had been, right?
Well, the movie only took bits and pieces. This was
this is the entire everything they had.
Yeah,
off the
my point is, though, I think I read that the sound on this was much better than the sound was on the movie, because it was taken right from the board, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it was great. It was great. And they had all the bands and all that. I mean, I couldn't listen to it straight through, obviously, but I think they ran it for 4 days.
Yeah. You could buy it, but it was really expensive. It was pretty long.
Yeah, well, that would just be a donation to the WPKN. WPKN is a fantastic radio station. They bring in all these producers from the past who produced all these bands. You know, they've been in the industry. You know, so they have knowledge. You know,
and out of Bridgeport, no less.
Out of Bridgeport, no less.
So the first thing that sort of Woodstock, like just a concert, like the history of it, that's something I know very little about, but some older coworkers of mine when I was back at MIT shared this video with me of the Joe Cocker, of the Joe Cocker performance of With a Little Help from My Friends.
Oh yeah, that was pretty wild.
And him, he was in a tie-dye shirt, and he kind of had like the Jerry Garcia hair, and he sings, to my memory of it, he sings the intro to the song very, very beautifully, and then it's about 5 straight minutes of nonsense.
He really...
The Beatles really, really liked that version of it. They were on the record as saying they thought it was great. They liked him anyway, but he's a madman.
Well, his voice.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Was just fantastic.
And then he did all his stuttering stuff.
Right.
Well, yeah, he had a very odd postures.
Yeah, he did.
You know.
I mean,
He was not so, fluid and coordinated as, say, Elvis Presley.
Sure.
No.
He was not an elegant dancer, was more of a...
No. Yeah. He might have been imbibing a little
No,
bit.
but, great performance.
He was singing his heart out.
He was. That's right. That's exactly right.
So we've been talking like a little bit about the early Saturday Night Live seasons on like the show recently. We did a series of movies more contemporary to kind of my generation with starring SNL stars. But have you seen the movie Saturday Night that came out last year?
No.
This debuted fairly recently. Mom and Dad
We
watched
saw it on,
it.
yeah, it's on, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a movie about the last 90 minutes before the first broadcast of the first episode of Saturday Night Live.
It's really good.
It's very, very entertaining.
Yeah, we liked it a lot.
They probably didn't know much of what they were doing either.
Well,
Were they flying by the seat of their pants?
the movie certainly made it look like that. I mean, like the premise of the movie is the entire time going right up to showtime, they had not finalized the list of sketches and performances.
Oh, okay.
Everybody was on drugs. They were still working on like the final editions, like the scripts they were going to do. John Belushi hadn't signed his contract. Everybody was either taking drugs or fighting with each other.
And they were really worried about George Carlin too, because he was doing some really serious drugs.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was always straight. He swore a lot, which I liked.
But you had not heard that Carlin routine before, and I'm surprised because it's a very famous routine.
Well, maybe
about the differences between baseball and football.
Yeah, I think I had.
Oh,
heard
really?
that
Yeah.
before. Oh. It's really good though. I like it.
I think George's early career was censored. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, he was on Ed Sullivan. He couldn't get into it.
He had the very short hair, I remember.
Yes,
like an
yeah,
episode.
and he had that album, whatever it was. But as he got older in his career, he could get more and more outrageous.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love George Carlin.
Yeah.
If I ever want to I just go to YouTube, I
It's
pull
all
up
there.
George,
It's
and
all
watch
there.
a couple of
Yeah.
skits.
It's really nice. You can hear. You don't have to be a rare record collector to get to hear that stuff.
But
all
I
out
wish
there.
he was alive today.
I was fortunate enough to see him perform at the Calvin Theater in Northampton about 2 months before he died.
Really?
Just very, very randomly. I was living there at the time.
Oh.
Some people I knew were interested in seeing it, and he just came out, did a 90-minute set, tore the roof off the place. Like he was 50 years young.
So he was on that night.
He was just a standing ovation.
He practiced his craft. And all the things. He didn't ad-lib too much. He didn't have to. He memorized his skit.
Yeah.
If he had to go through descriptives, he had that all down. He practiced.
He was a phenomenal writer, but he was also someone who could completely... He had the Ed Sullivan performance in particular. You see him doing kind of like a really deep, technically complex kind of comedic monologue.
Yeah.
Doesn't drop a syllable the entire time.
No, he's really good. So you saw him 2 months before he died?
But yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he die? How did? Was that a sudden thing?
It was relatively sudden. I mean, he was in about like his 70s, and I don't think like he famously had any.
You don't have to remind me of that.
He was about your
Well,
age,
here we
right?
are.
I really don't.
Maybe
like
a year or two younger. We can check.
I
the numbers.
don't like this club, man.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Well, it's
You know?
better than the alternative.
Well, that might be, but I don't. It's not comfortable. This
Well, you look
person
pretty
dies
comfy-
at 72. This one
Uh-huh.
is 74.
You look pretty comfortable right
this
now.
one is 76. I'm 74. I'm going, fuck. This is not good.
Live in the moment.
That's what I do.
Well, there you are.
Take a little more than whiskey. Yeah.
You,
Well, I
you look
live in
pretty
the moment,
content to
and-
me. You know,
But it's not what you don't expect this. Let's put
Sure.
it that
yeah,
way.
sure. I've
You-
heard of
you
people
just
dying in their
don't.
70s.
Will you stop?
Well, be
You know, I'm
realistic.
not dying in my 70s. I'm going to 80.
Yeah.
Boy, you got to be ready to
Just for the listeners, that got the biggest eye roll from my father. Naveen, if we can visualize that, could be like a gift.
You complain about being 74, but you can't wait to live to be in your 80s.
No, I'm going to 80,
Well,
but I'm
yeah.
telling you that it's
Yeah,
not
you're-
a
you're
comfortable
gonna-
place to be.
You're going to be really fun to be hang out with when you're 80. You're doing a lot of complaining now.
Jesus. You'll be lucky to get to 80 with that attitude. That's right.
What's that supposed to be? What attitude? I just you're complaining, but now you're saying you want to
I'm
make it to
sitting
80.
here saying I'm gonna get to 80, regardless of anything that's going on.
Unless you die at like 77 or something.
The way Carlin did.
Say that.
You don't know. You can't just sit here and say I'm going to live to be 80. You can't say that.
I don't read.
You can't.
Okay. I've had a friend recently saying, "I just want to die." And I yelled at them.
Well,
and
yeah,
said,
well, I don't want to just die
Don't
either.
say that. Keep it to yourself.
But don't go around saying you're going to live to your 80. I mean, that's just.
Well, what do you mean? It's a hell of a lot more positive.
Well, it's not totally realistic. It's just let things happen that are going to happen. I mean, you're going to die at a certain age. You don't have to give it a number.
What are you practicing? Some kind of guru shit?
Dad is pivoting from apple farming.
You know,
this point in his life, he's going to. Yeah.
I'm stating I want to be in the present. I want to live to 80. It's a goal. I'm a goal-oriented person.
What are your other goals? What do you have besides?
Well,
living
I've
to 80?
used up all my goals. I have that one now.
Okay. So it's not goals oriented. It's just single goal.
It's a goal-oriented, yes.
Okay.
I've used up all the other goals. My house, everything else.
You've done what you wanted except make it to 80.
Yeah. And I'm not even halfway there.
No.
But I'm working on it.
Yeah. I can't wait to see you at 80.
So another fun part of like Naveen's audio recording is, and if you remember the layout, Naveen wrote to me. He's like, "Okay, next time you had Uncle Normie right in front of the mic, and your father was sitting kind of further away. So next time, how about you have them equal distant?" And I text back to Naveen. My dad was sitting right in front of the microphone.
Right.
Uncle Normie was way over there.
So is this better this time or worse?
Well, I'll let Naveen sort of make that judgment.
Okay.
See, you gave me a hard time about getting to 80. And I said, you have to get to 80 so that we can have a beer on the Ancestral Patio together.
The Ancestral
and you
Patio.
weren't agreeing.
I wasn't.
No, you weren't.
I would say let's just have the beer now and not wait to some unrealistic goal.
That's not the point. It's not the point.
I feel like we're breezing over the Ancestral Patio. Yeah, you have to clarify that for us a little bit.
Well, that's at the house. That's at the...
The farmhouse. It's not an estate.
farmhouse.
It's a farmhouse.
Right.
Okay.
It's not an estate. You sound like a capitalist.
Right.
Oh, you're not?
No,
Oh,
I'm an old New England farmer.
I see.
Oh, what do you mean I see?
So the Ancestral Patio
What do you
is
mean?
On the
the
south side of the house.
on the south side of the
Yeah.
house. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Facing the town line, but that's
Yeah.
It's not the main
That's
one
correct.
out front. Like that's the
Yes.
one we said from
It's the real
Uh-huh.
ancestral patio, not
Yes, it is.
the new age one.
But I think I finally got him to agree that he would meet me on the patio at 80.
Okay,
Right.
you should-
That makes it sound like the two of you are going to duel.
Oh no, yeah, dueling beers.
My most striking memory last time I was sitting on the Ancestral Patio is Dad and I were out there, was visiting with the summer, sort of beautiful evening, and just kind of just watching the trees. And there's these to the right, there's this large rhododendron bush. I believe that's always kind of been there.
That's what makes it private from the road, pretty much.
So no, it's not. That's the juniper. That's the rhododendron bush are the ones that are on the west side of the house.
Oh, that's right. That's the juniper.
Okay, so it's the juniper.
It's the pine with and it's got some laurel in the middle of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's in the
because we were sitting there. Yeah. Having a couple beers, just kind of enjoying the evening, and then I hear from the bushes, Dad does not blink, he does not move.
No fear.
I turned to Dad, I'm like, what the hell was that? And Dad just goes, Dexter got another one. So he comes, Dexter comes trouting out a few moments later, carrying just the cutest carcass of a baby bunny in his jaws.
Oh my! No.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, that was
another one has just joined the ancestors.
Yeah.
It's not good when he gets the rabbits.
Yeah. The mice and the voles and
yeah,
everything
that's
else
okay. Those are okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chipmunks, squirrels.
I gotta start thinking about collecting chipmunks.
You have to start thinking about collecting chipmunks.
Yeah, well, I'm just making nice with that. I don't like to describe the carnage that may ensue.
Right. Do you want Naveen to cut this part out? Like we can scrub the entire thing. So I brought a little item of sort of a little vintage item of some curiosity. I thought we'd talk about like a little bit, but this is an acquisition my dad made on eBay.
Yes.
A little while back, and during my visit, I kind of came in, and it hadn't really been opened or played, but I sort of popped in, kind of cleaned it, and sort of organized everything. But Dad, do you want to tell us a little bit about this item and a little bit about the family history?
Sure.
That we have with it?
Tic-Tac-Toe with host Jack Barry was a big hit from about 1957 to about 1959.
This was an NBC show.
It was an NBC show.
Yeah.
There were three really big quiz shows. There was this one, Tic-Tac-Toe, Treasure Chest, but the really big one was the $64,000 question. That one played at night. And people really got into it. And what people did not know watching these things, that all three of them were completely rigged. So when they got a contestant on there, that they had ways to measure this that the viewing public really liked. They could keep them on forever. There was no limit as to how long these people.
They would look at whatever version of the Nielsen ratings were when they had particular contestants on, and like whoever was best for the program, they would kind of feed them the answers and kind of keep them going in perpetuity.
And keep them going. So anyway, Dad went down to New York City to try out for this show. It was a national show.
About what year was this?
He went down in 1959.
59, okay.
Early 1959. He went down to Rockefeller Center in New York, where NBC Studios were, and he tried out for it. And to back up just a little bit, in 1956, Dad had bought the entire Compton's Pictured Encyclopedia, all 15 volumes.
Right.
And Dad rarely ever bought books. He much preferred to borrow books from people. So he consequently, but he bought these encyclopedia sets. He thought it would be good for the three boys in school.
Right.
But he wanted to make sure he got his money's worth out of it, because it was not particularly cheap. It wasn't a cheap investment. It was really nice. And in the next 3 years, starting with the letter A, Dad read the entire Compton's Pictured Encyclopedia.
Jeez.
He did, and he went right through the whole thing. So by the time he was done, late 1958 or so, he knew a lot of stuff.
Right. When you say encyclopedic knowledge, it was literally the case for Grandpa.
Yeah, because it wasn't the Britannia, but it was still a pretty high, high quality encyclopedia.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a lot of knowledge out of that.
And so this show was trivia, more or less.
So you were asked that with different, from different categories. So Dad tried out for the show. There's like 9 different categories.
Right.
Like,
but the premise was basically, and it is reproduced remarkably with this giant plastic component that comes in the board game. But you would have this tic-tac-toe board. Every square would have a different category on it, like geography, famous names, science. So you would pick your square, and you would have to answer a question, whatever that category was. But one of the real interesting sort of wrinkles they had on this game is every couple rounds, and again replicated amazingly kind of by this little component here, they would pop the categories around, so everything would sort of get shuffled.
Next.
So if you really needed a particular square, but you knew you were bad at sports, but you were bad at sports but really kind of good at history, that would impact the way you would play, the decisions you would make, kind of going through the game.
But if you were Dad and just had finished 15 volumes of Compton's Pictured Encyclopedia, 1955 edition, you didn't have a lot of weakness when it came to different. I mean, he could do anything. So he got on the show. Really big deal. He made it. It was not easy to make the show. This was a national program. So the prizes were this. If he could tie the person he was playing against, he would get $100, and he could appear again. Compare again if it was a tie, because a lot of times the games ended up in ties. If he lost, he would still get a Polaroid land camera, one of the very first Instamatic cameras, and a copy of the game, exactly like the one that I was able to find here. Okay. So it was. I remember I was in 2nd grade, and when the show aired, when it was on TV. It was a videotape of the show, so we knew what was going to happen. And what happened was this: Dad was up against one of these women. It was a woman. Her first name was Pat. I don't remember, but she was the one of the 3 on the show that were being fed all the answers. So there was no way he was going to beat her. But Dad did not miss any questions. He did not miss any questions at all. So they're going tit for tat on the board. But Dad was so nervous that he got the answer right, but Pat, just to illustrate, had ding, ding, dong, and he ding, ding, and ding, and dong was up, and Dad needed to stop her, from getting the dong to get the. But he was so nervous, he got the answer right, but he put his X in the wrong square, and then she won. Very easily, because she knew all the answers. So anyway, the net result of all this was this: Dad came home and he felt like 2 cents. Of course, he didn't know at that time the thing was rigged, but he was so upset with himself for
screwing up.
This is having the palm, and he had done the hard stuff. He had read all 15 volumes of Compton Encyclopedia, but he couldn't properly place the X on the tic-tac-toe board, and that must have been rough.
Kind of like Bill Buckner and the ball going between his legs.
That's actually not that bad a comparison. So Dad really came back from there with his tail between his legs. And after the show, he never, ever talked about it. And he would discourage people from bringing it up. And when the show was aired, he knew when it was going to be aired. They told him when it is. He did not tell anybody except my mother. And my mother told my 2 older brothers who were going to regional, Gordon and John, my 2 older brothers, that he's going to be on. And there was no way. They said, we've got to be able to not we've got to be. You either got to pick us up or we won't go to school. I don't really know to this day if they just didn't go to school or if Mom picked them up. But I said I was going to Bakerville school, and I said to Mom, I want to go. I want to see Dad on TV. I want to see Dad. And she said, well, we'll pick you up too. And this was some super bad parenting, super bad. But I'll never forget. I was in second grade, waiting for Mom to come. It was getting closer to when tic-tac-toe was going to come, and she never showed up. Right. But John and Gordon got. They got to see the show.
This 59. This predated the first VCRs by 20 years.
yeah. There was nothing there. Nothing. But Dad didn't particularly. I mean, John and Gordon were old enough. There was just no way. There was no way they were big enough. We wanted to see Dad. We don't care if you lost the damn show or what.
Right.
So they got. But they. But anyway, but Dad was. But Dad never talked about it again. Nobody else. The only people that saw that show that we were aware of was Mom, Gordon and John, my two older brothers.
Really?
That was it. Yeah, he just kept it a secret. He was so embarrassed.
Right.
It made him feel really stupid.
So what happened when he found out that they investigated?
I don't even remember that. But at that point,
he never spoke of it again. Even when the national news broke.
He didn't even want to know. It's not like he got mad or that wasn't fair. As far as he was concerned, he lost the game
because he didn't.
It didn't take a lot of brains, but he was, and they were building up the fact that they wanted him on TV. It was being broadcast nationwide, and they loved the story with Dad because he was an apple farmer,
but extremely educated and well read.
It was. Really. So I saw this thing. So anyway, the game that he won, he came back home with the Polaroid land camera. Not once was that game ever brought out. Right. And Mom being Mom, I mean, she couldn't throw away things fast enough. So that disappeared. Taking up room. The game disappeared. Yeah. And then we had the Polaroid land camera, but it was in the early days of it, and you had to take this. After you took the picture, you had to kind of.
You had to pull up like a tube of chapstick or something.
Yeah, it was something to make it set.
It was a solvent.
This is some of the very, very first ones. Yeah. So we ended up taking about 3 or 4 pictures with this damn camera, and in each picture there's way too much wax applied to it, so they're not even good pictures. And so then that thing got tossed because we couldn't figure out how to use it.
So you ultimately for Grandpa doing all this work, you ended up with sort of 4 mediocre Polaroids, and for Grandpa just a lifetime of regret.
But I'm really proud that he made the show. I mean, that was an amazing thing for him to go down there. Everybody was after him to give it a try, and the son of a gun, he went down there. He wasn't uncomfortable coming to New York. He was from Long Island, and New York didn't intimidate him. He knew where to go. He knew how to get there. And meanwhile, while he was doing that, Grandma decided she would try out for a show too.
A show called Concentration.
Right. And believe me, concentration was not Grandma's strong point. But she just wanted to entertain herself while he was trying out for his.
This is just my visual, like just like the hip 50s in New York. It's just everybody goes down to Fifth Avenue and you spend all day just trying out for different game shows.
Yeah, Sixth Avenue. That's Avenue. Yeah, Radio City. Yeah, Radio City.
Okay.
Well, wasn't Jeopardy born out of something like this anyway?
Well, it was. Yeah, this was an early one.
And Tic-Tac-Toe itself had a comeback in the 80s.
Yeah, they were off the air for 20 years till people forgot.
Really? Oh, jeez.
But there is footage on YouTube of 3 different 50s era Tic-Tac-Toe shows. You can go up and watch now. And I haven't watched the entirety of it yet, but even in the first 20 seconds of the one that I did watch was very entertaining because the categories on the 3x3. I just think the first minute or two.
I should watch it with you because I actually remember.
We absolutely should, but it's immediately entertaining because one of the categories just says the gay 90s.
Well, that was the innocent 50s. They wouldn't call it the gay 90s.
Boy. Wait until they see how the 1990s play it out. So Dad had picked this game up on eBay a few years ago.
Yeah, it was cheap.
Like probably because it was like thousands and thousands of copies out there because they were handing these things out for free.
Yeah, I don't think there were, though.
No?
I was looking for that for a while. I mean, you could go on there now and see. But the amazing thing, I never appreciated. I mean, I got it about 5 years ago. We never played it, and John saw it. He was intrigued by it,
right.
And I didn't realize it. He picked up on the fact of how well designed it was, and how well it worked. All the parts were there.
Really?
So board games are like a bit of a hobby for me, and we're sort of kind of going through everything upstairs, and we're trying to sort out. Mom currently has 3 copies of Pictionary up there and 4 copies of Trivial Pursuit.
Right.
I saw at the bottom like this vintage copy of Tic Tac Doe. I was kind of curious about it, and we opened up like the cards were kind of shuffled up. It was missing some of the paper currency that it had in it, but I spent kind of an afternoon kind of sorting everything, cleaning up, reading the rules. It's still in phenomenal shape. The plastic box that kind of gives you like the tic tac board, the squares and the categories around them. Within the box there are these paper drums and a lever that you pull to kind of rotate the drums to kind of give yourself the different categories. Yeah. Still works perfectly. Yeah. Everything's 70 years old. This game still like working order. So I wanted to talk about this on like the podcast like a little bit, but Mom and I played a game against Dad. After I got like the entire the thing kind of wrapped up. It was a little bit kind of nerve-wracking because, 50s quiz show questions. We were worried we're going to stumble across, sports question in the American Negro Leagues. Where it was like, ... But
well, he probably knew about it.
Dad won against the two of us very, very handily.
I didn't win handily. You guys were ahead.
We were ahead for the first round, and we were on the back foot for like the second and third round. Dad ultimately won, I think, $1,300 to nothing against Mom and I.
Well, he knew more about the baseball.
It wasn't all baseball. That was one of 9 categories. And that was sports. It wasn't baseball.
Yeah. Plus, it wasn't even the sports. It was the literature questions. He was getting things like he knew who Booth Tarkington was, just off the top of his head.
The best one I had was not properly appreciated by all, but I got the first name of that, Phil. I still remember his that was Somerset Maugham book. There. I was happier with that.
What was Tarkington? Was he a manager?
No, you're thinking of Fran Tarkington was the quarterback. His name was Booth Tarkington was a writer very popular around 1910, 1920. Yeah.
Right.
He wrote all the Penrod books at 17, and I just know that type of shit.
I don't know. Right. Where do you keep all this stuff?
Well, it was stuff I learned when I was young. Nothing that I learned when I was young is gone, but everything I've learned since I was about 20 is gone with the wind. I blame you.
Don't blame me. I didn't do it. I don't remember anything. I live in the moment.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to be. So stop worrying about turning 80.
I'm shooting for that. I got a front row seat. I paid dearly for this.
Paid dearly? What do you mean you paid
for
dearly?
5 more years. There's a lot of excitement going down.
A lot of complaining.
Excitement's a word for it.
Huh?
Excitement's a word for it.
Well,
a lot of complaining.
I mean, I like your screen here. It's very psychedelic.
Yeah, sure. Any flashbacks to like Woodstock or the '60s?
No.
That was more like, I would say that was more 67 than 69.
Right.
Yeah. I think, we never should have stopped taking LSD. I think we'd be in a much better place as a human being. Would be just.
Well, I've read there have been sort of repeated efforts to normalize hallucinogens for like LSD and mushrooms. Like work done by Harvard Medical School has shown certain forms of depression and certain forms of schizophrenia are actually well treated. There is great patient response.
Well, maybe we should adopt the fluoride regimen where you put the fluoride in the drinking water, and then if you were just to put a little amount of acid in there, LSD, that would be really good for people.
Naveen, cut this and whatever Uncle Normie says for the next 5 minutes. Go on.
Just imagine how productive that might be, or unproductive.
People just kind of staring into like their glasses of water going, man, the colors. Well, I heard like the conversation that we had on like this last recording where Dad told the story of taking a bit of LSD and sitting twice through Fantasia in the movie theaters.
Yes.
It's still up on Disney Plus currently, and I watched the introduction. I watched the first half of it relatively recently, and that is a the first few minutes of that movie have to be just the greatest introduction of we know you're probably watching this and on drugs. So here is how, because like the conductor literally gets up on stage, he's all backed up by blue on one side, by red on the other, and he's like, here's the things you may see visually in your mind while you're listening to classical music.
Now, when was that released?
1940.
Yeah. But it kept coming into theaters in sort of perpetuity.
Yeah. But the thing that was funny was, I mean, the first crowd, it was Halloween night, and the first show we watched, it was around, I don't know, 9:30 or so. Mm-hmm. And there was a pretty live crew there. I mean, it was pretty good. We got pretty good reactions. Like I said, the thing was open, and I was like,
because it seems like when you're watching that conductor, I was just watching it in Japan on my laptop, and I was still like, I'm very locked into everything that's happening right now. He seems like he's talking to you personally.
So everybody left me alone in the theater. That was great. There was no way I was going in. Nobody could talk me into coming with them. I said, this is it. But that midnight crowd that came in, I mean, they were live coming in. They sat down, and then that conductor came out. They were applauding. I mean, it was just
my jaw was on the floor. I'm like, this is from 1940.
Yeah.
This is before they really had drugs. This wasn't kind of written by like people sort of kind of taking inspiration from LSD and mushrooms. It's a bunch of 40-somethings chain smoking in Burbank, animating and kind of doing this kind of thing.
It is interesting,
remarkably
that it was become so popular. You get an LSD.
I'll tell you, if there had been a third show, I would have stayed for it, no doubt.
If they had kept running in perpetuity.
You watch movies 3 times anyway. You just watched the unknown.
Yeah, not on the same night.
No, that's true. But you did go back 3 times. You watched.
Actually, I went back to see Fantasia. But I'll tell you, my takeaway from it, I saw Fantasia twice more after that. And both times I came away saying, I sure wish I had
it wasn't as good.
Dwayne had that night. It was good, but it was nothing like that night. Especially when those skeletons were dancing.
But you could see how that would work in San Francisco at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
People would say, yep.
But again, remarkable. This what year is this? Like about 1970?
No, I'll give the exact year. 73. It was
73.
October 31st, 1973, if you want the exact date.
Okay. But
9:30 till 2.
9:30 with question marks is more what it sounds like.
Because they had to clean out some of the hippies there before the midnight crew came in. Because they had a really big crowd in the back. But
I just imagine one guy with a giant broom going, yeah.
But I was just holding on. I said, I'm not going anywhere. This is too wonderful. And I never did LSD again. I realized it could never be.
You had the perfect moment the first time.
I did. I said, this just can't be.
This is... any subsequent effort will only be downhill.
But before I die, I'm going to do it one more time. But I'm going to have...
maybe...
But I'm going to have Dwayne pick it out for me, because that's what made it such a success.
Ask you,
I had a veteran. It wasn't like I was with the Beatles, where they remember the first time somebody snuck some LSD into their coffee or something, and it was wild stuff, and they all went crazy. But Dwayne said it was okay. We'll start off with half a dose.
You had a Sherpa to guide you.
I had
a mind warrior. You had a mind warrior.
And he even told me he told me just. Take a half, and I took a half.
Right.
And
do you remember what it was called? Was it blotter? Was it window pane? Was it barrel? Orange barrel? Do you remember the name of it? Because they all had...
Please keep going with more 60s LSD. Please keep going with more LSD names.
Well,
this could be the next 45 minutes of the podcast.
Well,
was it canvas shirt, which was a fly-by-night?
Dosing LSD from underground like that, it was a crapshoot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but
And it was really cruel to surprise people and not tell them.
Like what could happen to the Beatles was bad.
Yeah,
but
that's cruel.
Dwayne did not do that. I mean, Dwayne
No,
told me, he said,
no.
this is just going to give you a great high, but it wasn't like smoking a joint.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, it was something.
It was something very, very different.
It was wonderful. I can't believe it was so wonderful, and I never did it again. But I never did.
Right.
But once it was so perfect.
Enough.
And if all if all drugs were like that, it'd be great.
Some people think that all drugs are great. I don't.
Yeah. After the edit, this is going to be about a 7.5 minute episode.
Jesus. Well, I'm just glad I didn't take any acid at Woodstock. That's all.
Right. It sounded like the experience itself was so surreal and so
I don't know if on the last one. I mean, I don't know what we left off and what we did. But John said if we did have it, but I'm not 100% sure that we talked about our night in Kearney, Nebraska the last time we talked with John.
So after the record finished last time, there was another 45 minutes of you two.
Right.
That the whole time I need to turn the mic back on so we can have like a B-side to this. But Kearney, Nebraska, I do not believe I remember off the top of my head.
It's not an A-lister.
Okay.
But it's a pretty good one.
It's a pretty good one. All right. Yeah.
So I would like to bring this one up because
content is content. We're just trying to get listeners.
Okay. This one's okay. Okay.
There's no obscenity in it.
No, and we're not going to mention anybody's last names, because sometimes you've done that and it's created problems. I don't want to scold you, but that has happened in the past. Okay. No last name.
But what's in the last name?
Well, because this is going on nationwide.
This is not nationwide. This is planet-wide.
It's planet-wide.
Planet-wide.
Which probably reaches further than the...
Well, all the more reason for you to behave.
Well, it's pretty obvious that radio waves travel.
Can I tell this story now?
Well,
unless Uncle Normie has more LSD names he wants.
Well,
I think he did more than one LSD.
Well, was it Pirate Bay? Was it Driller? Was it the two snow tires?
No. But
how many times did you do acid, by the way?
He's like, I did it 4 hours ago.
Oh, I don't know, maybe 10 or so.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when you
what was your favorite one?
When you have a
did you have a favorite one?
No. But when you have an episode where it's not comfortable, you will not take.
Did you have an uncomfortable episode?
Oh yeah. Sure.
Was it the 10th time you had a bad one?
I don't know.
You didn't stop after the bad episode.
No, but then
you had to give it the benefit of the doubt.
There's reasons. I could go into it, but you
well,
need to be in a comfortable environment in order to have a nice experience.
Right.
Okay. Did you often do it with Dwayne as you're like Sherpa?
We did a couple, yeah.
I bet nothing bad happened when Dwayne was there.
No.
Yeah. See, Dwayne knew his stuff.
You think so?
Yeah, I know he did. I don't know. I felt very safe doing it with him.
Yeah.
Well, he told me the other day that he was having memory issues. I don't know if that's connected or not.
No, it's connected to being 72.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Right.
It's kind of like when I walk from one end of the shop to the other, I go, I have purpose here. What was it?
I think
that was happening to me at 16. Like, that doesn't look great. Okay.
All right, let's get back to Kearney, Nebraska.
Okay,
this is on the same trip where we stopped at Woodstock, and we're driving cross country.
Okay.
And we're driving.
This is not stopping at Woodstock to see the show. You went later, and a guy tried to sell you some land as we were passing.
Right.
Yes. Well, yeah.
We just wanted to see where it was.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was kind of amazing. The guy was serious about it. Was Yazger Realty. It was not a joke. He was. Why he thought we had more than $50, I have no idea. But I guess
he had land he was looking to give away.
I don't know why you like Yazger so much. If he was a farmer and turned into a real estate agent, he was selling off his land.
Well, he wasn't. He was the real estate agent for Yazger. It was called Yazger Realty.
He was selling off his damn farm.
Well, that wasn't him.
Well,
it was probably one of his lousy relatives.
Kearney, Nebraska.
Uh-oh, where's he going?
And Uncle Normie is just kind of wandering off. All right.
Uh-oh. He's coming after me.
I think trip number 11 just kicked in.
I'm getting up here.
All right.
Oh, okay. Oh, Uncle Normie?
Yeah.
Can I have one? You're not mad at me, are you?
No.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Okay.
He's just frustrated.
That's the LSD coming back.
Not bad.
It's sense-dependent memory. This was a triggering event.
Well, you know,
Listening to all the crazy names.
I have this. I have.
We had 2x4. We had orange sherbet. We had History of the World. History of the World. That's the one you got to stay away from.
Yeah.
Even Dwayne gonna get you through that shit.
Oh, no. I
That
have
was
a
pretty
thing,
good,
though.
the names he came through.
I'm not, I
Those
am
were
in my
not made up.
70s.
No.
I am in my 70s.
Right.
And I am not going to leave the planet mad at my friends. So, you know, that's my my whole modus operandi now.
Okay, so
So if you piss me off, it won't be for
you
long.
won't care.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because I am in my
You
70s.
were trying to live from a position of forgiveness.
Exactly.
That's just Catholicism.
And that's
Okay. Oh, okay.
well, no, that has everything to do with the LSD. That's what you have to understand.
Okay.
See, LSD was.
I cannot imagine the episode art that Andy is going to come up with after listening to this.
I thought we were toasting.
Thank you, sir.
You can't drink this beer out of a bottle.
Okay.
That's sacrilege.
I'm sorry.
All right.
There's the Catholicism.
There you go.
That's actually an accurate statement.
Yeah. I don't think you ever get it washed.
There's always a little bit of sludge left over.
Okay.
Comes out at the most inopportune times.
I was talking with CJ this afternoon.
Gentlemen, come by.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. He's in Seville in Spain.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know, we were chatting away, and somewhere along the line, religion got brought up, and the people in Portugal tend to refer to the Catholics as barbarians.
But Portugal's a Catholic country.
Well, but it had your Muslims and your Christians and your Jews, and they all got along.
Because it's a big port country, it's a big seafaring country.
Yeah, but then I guess they blame the Catholics for a lot of the divisions that developed over the time. I mean, they were all getting along.
Right, they were doing.
I don't have the history, but they call them barbarians. They refer to the Catholics as barbarians.
Wow.
And I don't mean to insult anybody, but if you're a Catholic, that's too bad.
Right.
It's just too goddamn bad.
Again, planet-wide video minimally, plus going out to the stars. So maybe that's a warning they need to hear on the other worlds.
Well, we don't. Let's not get into religion.
No,
it gets
not.
rather messy.
Yeah, let's skip. Let's get back to Kearney, Nebraska.
I just remember.
So CJ is in Seville right now.
Yeah, I remember there was an episode on the highway as we were getting off. Or we were looking at something, and there was a drunk driver on the highway,
We're just talking about. We're in Nebraska. We're going through Nebraska, heading to California.
Okay,
from Woodstock.
Not from the concert, from some guy just trying to sell you property. This is a few years after the fact.
No, this is right after.
No,
this
is
right.
We're on the road.
Oh,
we're on the road. That's how we ended up at Woodstock. We're heading California.
Okay.
But now we're in Kearney, Nebraska. About half. Go ahead.
Do you remember that episode where the tractor trailer he corralled that driver?
Yes, I do remember. I thought there were two tractors.
Making it up.
I remember two tractor drivers working together and doing it. That's what I remember. It was two of them working together. Is what I remember.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
But anyway, it was quite an exciting thing. We're on. I don't know if that's I-70 or I-80. I think that one might be. Is that the north one or the south one? That's 80.
80.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we had a drunk driver and we were as Norm said, we were driving along. It was very scary, but these two guys and these great big, they worked together. I don't think they were together, but they knew how to box this guy in and make him stop. It was really something to see.
So there was a drunk driver on the road.
On 80,
But you saw two other Nebraska drivers.
No, not Nebraska. No, great big the truck driver. I don't know where they were from.
Okay.
Big tractor trailers. They boxed him in so he couldn't go any further.
You don't mess with a tractor trailer.
Yeah.
Sure.
This guy was all over the
tractor
place.
trailer driver off once.
Right.
And he chased me.
No.
And I never did it again.
Okay. But anyway, so we passed.
And that was not in Kearney.
It was before Kearney.
No. When I flipped off that tractor trailer driver. Because,
Oh, you're telling a different story now.
Well, I'm just saying, you don't mess with tractor trailers.
Okay. I missed the entry here.
It's okay, Al.
Okay. But anyway.
So we stopped in Woodstock.
No,
that was quite a few miles. We're like,
This kind of feels like the story is being told on LSD.
Space made first we were in Woodstock and then we were in Kearney, Nebraska.
Do you know about fractals? I mean, really? Come on.
And we have an episode title.
Yeah, fractals. Look at this. This isn't very good fractals.
It's not very good fractals.
But you're
well aware
it's
the best I have given the circumstance.
Well,
Fractals are.
I'll tell you one thing. This beer is pretty good.
Well, of course it is.
It is good.
Wouldn't drink anything else.
Yeah.
Well, you drink Valentine.
I haven't in a while.
Point one.
But who is it? Mandelbrot.
Mandelbrot, yeah.
Mandelbrot,
I think.
Mandelbrot? It's Brot, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a mathematician working for IBM.
Sure.
This is a long way from Kearney. I know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to get back to Kearney.
But he developed a mathematical formula to explain nature, right? Am I right about that? It kind of explained it.
My freshman year at engineering school, we touched on sort of fractal mathematics for
You did?
a little bit. Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It was not. There was nothing particularly cool about it at the time. It was just the math.
Was it very hard?
It was hard, and it's the people kind of the visualization of kind of fractals are. It's very colorful and very kind of. It's sort of very interesting, and you have these kind of beautiful sort of kaleidoscopic like effects you can kind of, that you can kind
but
of create.
But it just goes into infinity, or
right. It's a decreasing or decaying recursion. So like the artistry of what you can kind of create out of fractal mathematics can be sort of just very beautiful, engaging, but like the math behind it is very kind of just dry and uninteresting, and it doesn't. There's on a general level, there's not a ton you do very practically with it, at least in the course of study I personally did.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, Well, I'm disappointed to hear that.
But it does make for a beautiful screensaver.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not detailed
It brings to mind
enough.
numbers 4, 6, and 7 especially.
It's really not detailed
In
enough.
orange red.
Because when you really look at the formula and it does its thing, and it just keeps going deeper and deeper, and it repeat, and it never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends.
It's like,
It gets infinitesimally small at a certain point that it becomes negligible. So when the
So
math
does it finally dissolve itself?
I mean, for how they would represent a fractal in the screensaver like that, there's probably a threshold when like the results fall kind of beneath the threshold. They probably stop doing the calculation. Oh. So my laptop is not doing anything really kind of infinite right now. It's just kind of being very kind of kaleidoscopic and colorful.
Yeah. I'm having a flash.
do you have something that does infinite? We'd like to watch infinite. You said it's not doing anything infinite right now. Is what your words were. Could we make it do something infinite?
It would.
Would it be exciting?
It would probably light the laptop on fire, and then probably open up a black hole.
Cool.
Yeah. Number 11, Kearney, Nebraska, though.
No,
let's hear about that.
All right, so we're in Kearney, and we watched the tractor trailers boxing a drunk driver. And our car is broken down.
Broke down. We passed a sign that says Kearney, Nebraska, halfway point of the United States, in our Toyota, which was struggling from the time we left Woodstock. Finally,
Nebraska's only the halfway point?
Yep.
So what do you know what the terminus is on either end?
No.
Like in that? Okay.
No, but that's what I mean. They claim that on the site.
That feels like Nebraska feels like a lot closer to the West Coast than the East Coast.
No, I don't think so.
Use the word terminus. That's kind of a mathematical thing.
Right.
Not as good as fractal.
Yeah.
Well, they're both there.
Right.
But we passed the site. But the ironic thing, when we got this car, we were driving it to Fort Ord for this guy who was going to be going into the Marines. And we were driving the car cross country. We were going to leave it off at Fort Ord, Monterey, and then do who knows what we were going to do next.
My goodness, what the hell happened there?
But it was we were driving it for him, and the deal was, he would pay for our gas, and we got that was our transportation to California.
Sure.
It was called rideshare, wasn't it?
But once,
no, it wasn't called rideshare. What the hell was it?
It wasn't.
There was a name for it.
Yeah, but we don't have to come up with it.
Pretty weird.
Yeah.
Rideshare feels like a thing.
Acon driveway, Acon driveway, and it was Acon, Acon driveway, and it was Acon because, I mean, all this company did was match you to somebody who needed to get a car somewhere else,
right.
And you didn't make anything, but the company, the Acon company, got all the money for making the connection.
Right.
Okay.
But we got into, and it was a Toyota. Which it was a Toyota, a few years old, and it had an 8-track tape player, but it only had one tape in it, which was "Rainbows and Demons" by Uriah Heep, which we got to know very well on the way cross country.
They're really a sucky band.
Well, anyway, I like them. But I only like them because I heard them 500 times on that.
Well,
track.
that's the reason.
It grew on you over time.
Well, it did.
Yeah.
But anyway. So, but from the time we got into the car, the thing let me just back up a little bit. I find this kind of interesting.
Okay.
Because the year before, Andy and I drove cross country, and Andy and I knew nothing about cars, right? I mean, it'd be hard to find two people who know less about cars than we did. But we knew before we left that this car that we were borrowing, it was Marilyn Hutton's car, Tim Hutton's mother's car. It was a little bug, that we should bring it to a place and make sure it was worthy of going cross country.
Make sure it was seaworthy.
Make sure it was seaworthy.
Yeah.
And we did. So we brought it to Jiffy La Tulips.
Okay.
Jiffy La Tulips.
Oh,
we brought it to Jiffy.
Wow.
You've heard of Jiffy La Tulip?
Oh, yeah.
Well, how can you?
Now the whole world has heard of Jiffy La Tulip.
Jiffy La Tulip, best. He was the best VW guy.
When I drive by his property,
you know where it is.
I know where it is.
Yeah, I know where it is too.
I know. And it was right in the.
And how can you beat that name, Jiffy La Tulip?
Jiffy
Right.
La Tulip.
He was good. So anyway, so Andy and I, Mr. Dum Dum and Mr. Dum Dum, when it comes, we knew enough to bring the car there to have it tuned up before we were going cross country. But it was somebody's car who we knew. So we get this car, and we know it's not running very well.
Right.
But we're afraid.
It doesn't even cross your mind to do the kind of the.
Well, I think we were afraid if we did do that, we might have to pay for it. So this car was not running well from the get-go.
Right.
It really wasn't, and it was bad. And I mean, we were such.
Day one, there was problems.
For day one, there were problems. And we were nervous too because it was getting late in the season. We really didn't want to run into snow. I mean, we wanted to get. It was like the end of October.
Okay.
So we wanted to get.
Particularly sort of going through Colorado, the Rockies, like you're rolling the dice.
But anyway, so we knew even by the time we were at Woodstock, we knew we were in trouble with that car. But we were just kind of crossing our fingers, hoping that we'd be okay. But that's you don't go cross country that way.
Yeah.
We hit the sign. The freaking sign says Kearney, Nebraska, geographic, half point of the United States, and that fucking car stops. It did, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah. I think it was Friday
The car
afternoon.
basically went, I got you halfway.
It was
Friday afternoon.
So yeah, it's Friday afternoon, and now our car's not running. We're in Kearney, Nebraska. We got it to lug along far enough, and we get to this car dealership, and this you're talking about 1974. This is we're in Nebraska, And we pull into this place, and the guy says, well, we don't really work on these here Toyotas. But so we do, but we're closed now. Bring it back on Monday. He says, because I've always wanted to work on one of these Toyotas. So the thing is,
it's like you're getting surgery. You got the gas on your face. You're falling asleep. And the doctor looks at something and goes, "This is going to be a challenge."
I've always wanted to do this.
Jesus.
So
I haven't done this shit since my residency.
So we asked him, "Is there a place we can stay near here?"
Right.
And they said, "Well, there's a hotel, place, nothing fancy. We don't want nothing fancy." So we got Kearney, Nebraska.
Kearney, Nebraska again, which just sounds
I have vague memories. I'm not even sure how we
come up with a more made-up sounding town name.
I have total
in middle
recall.
America.
I have total recall on this whole episode.
That
total
has
recall.
Something to do with your father and the encyclopedia.
This was an adventure. I was kind of happy this thing broke down. This is getting exciting because up to this point we've just been driving. It's time to have an adventure. Careful what you wish for. So we walk into this hotel. It's not. The guy told us. He says it's not expensive. So we go in there, and I said, we're looking for, a place where they're going to be working on our car. They can't look at it this Sunday. We need something for. It was Friday night. We need something for 3 nighs.
Right. You might have called ahead. We're the Toyota owners.
So we said, we need something cheap because you're going to be here for 3 days. So I'm just because we do not have a lot of freaking money on this. And he says, I got a room you can have for $3 a night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what we paid.
That's all it was?
That's all. Well, without asking any questions, we said, I say I was in charge of negotiations. So he said,
were the negotiations $3? Great.
I said, he said, you'll have to pay $9 up front. I said, that's not an issue. With tax, it's going to be $10. We'll take the room, okay? He says, okay, we didn't want to. He want to see the room. We'll take the room. That's so much less than we expected. I mean, it was right within our budget range.
Sure.
20 would have sunk us.
There was no budget. What are you talking about?
Well, so anyway. So we go into the room, and it doesn't smell great, but it's pretty good size. But there's one problem with it. It has one bed. It wasn't a problem for me. It was a problem for him.
That was your tendencies.
So I said to Uncle Normie, I said, this is going to be a long night. It's going to be an even longer weekend. I think we better get something to drink. Something strong. So,
with all this negotiating that I just did, we have an entire $10 left
to get to California.
Let's buy whatever alcohol we need.
So Norm and I, we find the package stores. Luckily, it was not far at all from this hotel, because you were staying at this hotel, you need a package store nearby.
That's for sure.
So we go in. They're trying to figure out what to get. We're gonna get a beer. I mean, our car's broken down. We're gonna have to be in Kearney, Nebraska for the next 3 nights. Things were.
You walk in, the owner immediately goes, "The Toyota boys just showed up."
So we know getting to sleep's not going to be all that easy this night, because we're in a little bit of a pickle in this place, and our room doesn't smell particularly good. And I'm going to be sleeping right next to Normie.
Oh, wow.
So we go to the package store, and we get the biggest bottle of Southern Comfort we could find. We go back.
What does that say about that? Really?
We have the worst alcohol. So we go back. So I mean, we're kind of worried about stuff and everything. We're not going to fall asleep right away. So we pour ourselves some pretty stiff Southern Comfort. We'll see what's on the TV.
This is I'm gonna say it's funny what you remember, but this was a Return to the Valley of the Dolls.
It was Valley of the Dolls. It's the original.
The original.
With Sharon Tate before she got murdered by Charles Manson. And
wow.
Yeah. So Uncle Normie, we're watching this.
Yeah, but the woman who took that film, what was her name? She was that Patty
Duke. Patty Duke was in that movie.
Patty Duke.
Yeah, it was a great cat.
That movie.
Yeah, she did.
She was great in that.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, so Uncle
it's too late.
Uncle Normie and I were there. We're there in our double bed.
In our underwear.
A double, which is about.
We didn't have to say that, but it was. Yeah,
it's true.
It was true. Yes.
Watching Valley of the Dolls. Knocking down a whole bottle.
Do you think I'm going to get in bed with you without my underwear on?
Yeah, well, luckily it was one of those trips where I brought my own underwear and didn't have to borrow yours.
Oh, my God.
That happened in Florida, remember?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, we'll forget about that.
Very sorted here.
Naveen, all that stays in.
So anyway, so we're watching Valley of the Dolls, the two of us. Mm-hmm. And we're drinking our Southern
That's
Comfort.
a serious alcohol.
Yeah.
That is a truly serious
alcohol.
It
was, but we needed it.
Right.
We needed it. And I don't remember there being much left by the time Valley of the Dolls ended.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
But,
right.
It was, there was a lot of consternation around whether or not we'd ever get out of it.
Yeah, because this... So anyway, so Monday morning rolls, after we've been there... We won't.
This sounds like the middle part of a Truman Capote novel, which was just and the next chapter.
Wait a minute, what was that?
Norm and Peter were never heard from again.
Yeah, what was that? Truman?
In Cold Blood.
In Cold Blood.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
that's not so comforting.
So anyway, so we're there for 3 days exploring, and we had no car, so we just had to explore on foot all the wonders of Kearney, Nebraska.
Seeing all those carnies walking around.
It must have been Southern Comfort after Southern Comfort. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I don't remember
we were there
these things.
Because you had all that Southern comfort.
I mean, for 3 days you had to occupy yourself. What the hell were we doing?
Right.
Let's not get into that. Some things stay in Kearney, Nebraska.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
So anyway, but it was okay.
All right. That's the part of the weekend you can share with the public.
I forget what the car problem was, but the guy fixed it.
Yeah. Well, he kind of fixed it.
Because, boy, oh boy. Yeah. I mean, we got into...
Wyoming.
Well, when you get through Wyoming and into Colorado...
No, well, why? So we had our car. It was running better. I mean, it was going forward, but it still wasn't right because.
Okay.
But he did enjoy this. The guy liked working on these Toyotas, but he didn't totally know his shit.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, Norm and I go to Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Sure.
And I was so excited because I bought a new rabbit hat.
Yeah.
I bought a rabbit. I was all rabbit for these hats. They sold, and I knew that because I'd been to this place before on a previous trip. They sold hats that were made totally out of rabbit fur.
Very, very warm and very. Yeah.
Well, they were warm, but when they got wet, they got a little smelly.
Okay.
But that's a small price to pay.
Uh-huh.
So we stopped it.
We could have Dexter sort of start up like a through line of manufacturing those things at the farm.
Okay. So anyway, so in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
We leave Cheyenne, and we're heading. We want to get a little bit closer to California while this damn car is still running. And anyway, and we're on the main highway, and then I see a sign. This was not on our previous. You don't know this story? I mean, because I don't want to go all the way through this shit if it's already on the first episode.
This is all new content. I don't have to double check with.
Okay, this is a good story.
We are.
This is a good story. Yeah. So it looks it looks like we're on the road again. Okay. I mean, we've made it all the way from Kearney, Nebraska to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Right. I've got my nice warm hat in case any disaster.
The Toyota is
but it's still not. Okay. We're aware it's not 100%.
So we have to hit the pause button. So I'm traveling with a history major,
right?
And he sees the sign, Ames Monument.
And I say, oh my God, could that be Oakes Ames from Massachusetts?
Oh, yeah. It was.
This is
Same contemporary of Booth Tarkington.
actually kind of was.
Yeah.
This is the Ames Monument. And I said,
Ames Monument.
I said, I know who this Ames is.
Yeah.
I said he was a senator from Massachusetts, and he was very involved in the Transcontinental Railroad.
Yeah.
And this monument must be a monument to him for getting the train to go through this town.
Yeah.
This tiny. So let's go check it out.
Okay.
Now, what I don't understand is why wasn't the monument closer to the railroad tracks?
Why wasn't the railroad closer to the railroad tracks?
The monument.
That part of the country, they got room to spread out. Not
Okay.
everything needs to be
There's
right
a
next
story
to each other.
behind that.
Oh.
The why the Ames Monument was nowhere near the railroad tracks.
Oh. It was out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
We
it was out
almost
in the
died
middle of
out
nowhere.
there.
Well, don't give up the story.
The alien visitation?
No, it ended up.
That's the night you watch Return to the Valley of the
Oakes
Dolls.
Ames. So the people in that part of Wyoming were so thrilled that Oakes Ames got. I mean, there was all kinds of political shenanigans going on for where this Transcontinental Railroad was going.
Yeah.
It meant a lot to any communities
Yeah, that's
that
right.
were there.
Yeah.
That was there. So anyway, this Oakes Ames, he had a lot of power, and he got it set up so it was going to go through there. Then some others started investigating Oakes Ames, and they realized he had been paid off by a lot of people who had interest in it going through. Where
Okay. He was getting kickbacks, and anything that the railroad went through,
Right.
that would immediately be for whatever that town
the
was. whatever the
Transcontinental
area.
Railroad, where it went through, was
That would be serious money, and people
extremely-
had a lot of vested interest.
extremely political. So it never went through there.
Ah.
That's why there was no railroad there.
Ah.
But the people were so thrilled with Oakes Ames, they built this
They built a preliminary monument.
before the railroad ever actually went through, and it ended up. It never went through.
It never
It was
went through.
just a giant pyramid in the middle of nowhere.
They gave him a pyramid specifically.
It's a pyramid. Oakes
Yeah.
Ames Monument. I should have made that clear. It's a pyramid.
Yeah.
You can go online, look up the Oakes Ames Monument. You'll see
Yeah.
it's a huge pyramid.
Huge
They
pyramid.
were.
Yeah.
It was like
no railroad in sight, any direction you look.
It was like paying homage to Trump. They were paying homage to Oakes Ames. His first name was Oakes Ames. And he had a brother who was a congressman. He was arrested too. But forget that. Anyway, these guys were Massachusetts politicians.
I was attending UMass Amherst when William Bulger was the president of UMass Amherst, and Whitey Bulger was still on the run from FBI.
Oh, really?
And
Brother?
and
The
William
brother?
was the brother, the head of the Somerville Winter Hill gang.
Yeah.
He was still on the run while I was an undergrad. William Bulger was dragged in front of a congressional committee, basically asking, "Where is your brother? Where is Whitey Bulger?" And
Really?
He was from Somerville?
And
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
the president of the university?
He was president. I mean, he at the time was running the school completely into the
No
ground.
kidding.
Nothing had any funding. We lost our gym classes. We lost most of our Spanish TAs under the tenure of William
Really?
Bulger. And then he retired my last year at UMass, and retired with a $500,000 payout, and then somehow also secured an ongoing pension, not just for him, but also his wife, who had no involvement in the school whatsoever. So it's
This sounds like a Trumpian thing.
It is.
Yeah,
Solid
yeah.
Trump.
It's a continuation.
Boston.
It's a continuation of a continuation of a
Bo-
continuation.
Boston has like a similar thing to Illinois, where there's some amazing statistic of like if you are a young African American male growing up in the worst part of Chicago,
Yeah.
you have by the time you're 18 maybe a 1 out of 3 chance of ending up in prison.
Yeah.
If over the past century you have ever been the governor of Illinois, you have a 1 out of 2 chance, statistically, of ending up in prison. So Boston has like a very, very kind of similar.
What was that guy's Bagnoff?
Blagovich.
Blagovich.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Which sounds as made up as Kearney, Nebraska.
Well, anyway.
So
the townspeople never took the monument back and built foundations with it.
The thing about pyramids historically is when you put them up, they're just going to stay
there.
there.
They just they're
like, well, that guy was kind of a fraud looking back on it. But
and actually, in Wyoming, that counts as a huge national treasure. They don't have a lot of them.
All right.
So anyway, so Norm and I drive up to the Ames Monument. And it's a really, really long ride off a really, really dirt road.
Sure.
It's not like it's right off of 80. And 80 is pretty close to where the train actually goes.
But that part of the country, everything is just farther away from everything else.
So we drive a long way. It's getting darker and darker and darker. We finally get to the Ames Monument, and it's certainly worth the drive. It's really cool because I knew who Oakes Ames was, and I knew the story behind it, and I knew he got arrested and got kicked out of Congress and all that stuff. The only difference between that and nowadays, he wouldn't get kicked out of Congress.
Right.
So anyway,
he'd be paired up with Elon at this point.
But it's starting to get pretty cold because we're out in the wilds. We are not near anything. I mean, there's no house for a long. We've driven a long way off of 80.
So this was November. Would it be November?
No, it was late October.
It was
because we got into Santa Cruz right around the Halloween because that's how we were able to move into the house right away.
We left the farm that early.
Yeah, that late. 23rd we left.
Boy, we got out of town quick.
Yeah, we did. Well, it was like Dad said, 2 bums on the lamb.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Grandpa barely looked up from his Compton's encyclopedia.
Yeah, he thought I was there for the duration. Next thing you know, him taking off.
So
anyway, so we spend the night. It's starting to get really cold out there.
Sure.
But luckily, unlike Andy, I said it was great with Andy that we got the car fixed. But a problem with Andy and me, Norm and I had a tent, and Andy and myself had a tent. Right. But the difference between Norm and me with a tent and Andy and me with a tent is that Andy and I cannot set up a tent. However, Norm and me can set up a tent.
All right. Well, that sounds like there's kind of like a lowest common denominator in that equation.
So we set up.
So that's a quick rebuttal. Anything you want to say there, Uncle Normie?
I already insulted myself enough. He doesn't have to add to it.
He's like, I'm trying to make it to 80. I'm trying to forgive my friends.
That's right.
Okay.
There we go.
So Norm gets the tent set up, which is great. So in the morning, we get up pretty early. Don't answer.
This is the Pope.
This is the Pope.
It's the Pope.
Pope Francis.
Oh, I hate to.
Oh, it's for Karen.
Yeah, let her answer.
Keep going.
Wait till that stops ringing.
You'll edit it out.
Naveen, keep all of this in.
Don't answer. I hate because Karen thinks it's for you, so she's not going to answer.
No, it's her sister.
I know, but she doesn't know that.
I'm not going to answer the phone. It's her sister.
How do you know that?
She picked it up. 3 rings.
Okay, I can.
That was more like 6 or 7.
Every time the phone rings now, if you don't have it near you, you have to walk to it, and then the next thing you know, it's a spam or some asshole trying to fleece you, And I always go, Major Look.
Okay.
So you keep the phone.
Well, the spammer succeeded in interrupting the story.
Well, stop getting so irritated.
Well, sometimes irritating things happen, and I can't help my feelings.
Listen.
What?
Calm down.
Look.
Calm down. Breathe.
Okay. I got a bottle of Southern Comfort
Breathe.
sitting behind the miter saw.
It was just a telephone.
You're one to tell me. You're the one that always loses it. Okay.
Not me.
I want to get back to the story.
I never get excited about anything. You know
Okay.
me.
Can we finish the story?
Very mellow.
Naveen has a waveform that would say otherwise.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
where were you?
Okay. So anyway, so we're spending the night.
You successfully set up a
It's
tent.
really cold.
It's really cold night. We wake up. There's snow all over the place.
Ooh,
it's like October 29th, something like that.
Wow.
And it was it's cold as hell. And I said, let's get out.
Cold
of here.
as hell. What kind of a referral are we making here?
Okay. It's cold. It's cold. It's a scary night. It's
not cold as heaven.
We are.
There's the Catholic coming back.
I hate Catholic.
Okay.
I said the wrong thing. No, I did not
Okay.
mean that.
All right.
You didn't say that. That goes out to the universe.
The Pope is about to call back.
The Pope will call back. The Pope's going to call you back.
Okay.
Right.
So anyway,
He almost died this week. Pope Francis.
I mean,
Can I just finish
that's been
this
the
up?
past month. They're just like, well, the Pope has kind of a heartbeat after about 3 days,
Well,
so he seems to not.
You
be
know
going
what's a
anywhere.
good movie? Watch The Two Popes.
The Two Popes. That's Hannibal Lecter.
Well, no, that's no. What's his name? Oh shit!
Okay, okay.
You want to refer to him as Hannibal, but he's not.
No, the Two
Damn
Popes
it.
is good. Yeah.
The Two Popes is really good
right.
because it tells you the story of the Nazi Pope. Everybody called him the Nazi Pope because he was
Benedict was Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
And who was the other Pope?
I don't know, but he's a famous actor.
Okay.
But anyway, he was a Nazi youth, became the Pope.
Right.
They always called him the Nazi Pope.
This is
anyway,
Pope Benedict, and then it was the movie was also about his successor,
That's
the Argentinian Pope.
The Argentinian Pope, and
but
that's
you don't remember who was
Francis.
played by that.
No, I can't remember his name.
Okay.
It's a really funny, it's a good movie.
this story is going to take a lot of editing.
Right. Any notes you need to give to Naveen, you can just yell into the microphone.
Did you keep up? Are you on your script now?
I just want to tell the end of the story.
What is the end of the story?
The end of the story, we wake up in the morning, it's really, really cold. We're really, really in the middle of nowhere. We go to start this blocky car we've been driving all the way across country, and it absolutely will not start.
And here you are in the shadow of the Oakes Ames Pyramid.
But worse than that, we're not near anything
Anything else.
It is really cold. It's doing that.
Okay.
And I truly thought, I mean, if it had just been Andy and I, we both would have died. We would have been skeletons.
Sure.
But Uncle Normie, you know, and for all the shit he's done to me that's so awful, Uncle Normie,
Like interrupting your story to talk about the two popes.
Uncle Normie saved our life, well, my life. Because
My life doesn't matter.
We have our priorities.
Right.
Anyway, he takes his hand,
Right.
puts it over the carburetor,
Okay.
and makes the fuel mixture richer, and gets the car started.
That's the Catholicism.
Choking.
No, that's the brains. That's
Choking.
the Uncle
It's
Normie.
choking.
Choking. You were choking the
He was
the
grabbing
engine.
the carburetor with two hands.
And
choking it.
that was warming it up enough to get.
Well, you just
Okay.
put your hand
Yeah,
over
he's right.
it.
It's a good thing
and
to
it
know.
It reduces the air so that it gets more fuel.
He got the
Oh, okay. So if you seal it off with your hands, less air gets mixed.
Yeah, we don't
Into
have
the-
carburetors anymore.
Okay.
Oh,
They're
so you
gone.
couldn't do that now.
No,
I'm glad I didn't try it.
no. You can't do anything.
But you did it. He saved our life. We're gonna die.
They would have buried you. You would have been in sarcophagi
Wait a minute.
underneath the pyramid.
Wait a minute. You know, the English and the Scots aren't supposed to really get together too much. You know, they don't get along. You know, why wouldn't it? Oh God.
Yeah, like that monument we saw in England. The Mears, they had to own the soccer team.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. MEARES.
Yeah, you spelled your way.
Very famous name. Very
Famous name.
Yeah. Soon to be forgotten.
Anyway, that's that.
Just got to get the name out to 80, and then you'll be fine.
We were, I mean, honestly, we were lucky to get out of there alive.
Sure.
If I had been there with Andy, we would have died.
Okay, because like two different
if I'd been
levels.
with
Andy
Andy,
would not.
Andy
You
would
would not have
say
been
it.
able to set up the tent. You would not know.
Right, we would
little
have frozen before we realized the car wouldn't start.
You would have been sleeping in that Toyota, all crunched up and frozen.
That's true.
You know, but if the car hadn't started, you would have just started walking, getting somebody to stop, and
We were a long way
Right.
away from 80. That was a long walk.
Yeah, but there was a road there, so somebody had to be driving up and down it.
Not necessarily. Not in that part of the country.
Yeah.
I've been living in Nevada long enough.
I didn't even have my grape nuts, and it was breakfast. I would have died.
You had.
I don't know what you.
Did you actually travel with grape nuts when you were kind of going up?
Always traveled.
You always traveled. Back in the
Really?
even back
You
in the
had grape
70s.
nuts?
Of course.
Okay.
That's why I'm so virile.
Naveen, flag this next 5 minutes. Further review. Go on, Father.
What can I say after that?
All right. No.
What could you say? Jesus. So anyway, we leave. We leave.
Kearney.
Kearney,
we leave Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
Right.
And now we gotta approach the what's the famous pass?
Donner Pass.
The Donner Pass. No, a lot of
And then now what's it famous for exactly?
Well,
cannibalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So now we're approaching
People who were friends dying under circumstances.
Darn said, he said, you won't be eating me, I'll be eating you.
I will take a lung or a kidney, not both. Because you're still my buddy.
I'm bigger than you. I'll be eating you.
You're approaching.
He's making the Pac-Man waka 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 waka.
Just picture this.
Okay.
Approaching the Donner Pass.
Right. Things have already not been going great. And then you reach the Donner
We
Pass.
never should have gone in that car.
And you're going, okay, let's hope we can get over this.
Yeah.
And it was, we barely got over the hump.
Yeah.
In the Donner Pass with
Right.
a lot of cannibals around us. And we got on the downhill side.
Put it in neutral.
Basically,
It's just
Coasted in.
That's the thing about driving through that part of the country. You cannot burn any gas for 6-7 hours at a time.
This is what this was like.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, but we coasted into California.
Yep,
Right.
we did.
And I'm not even sure how the hell we got to Monterey after that. But we did. We limped in there and we dropped the car off. And did he drive us up to Santa Cruz?
Yeah, he did.
How the hell did we get on a place to live in no time at all?
Because we ended up that we were there on October 31st, and the guy that was in our place was getting kicked out. He hadn't paid rent in months.
He just kept on spending all his money on Fantasia screenings over and over and over again.
I mean, you can't.
Right,
you would never be able to do this today.
We
This
pulled-
would not happen.
Right.
I mean, I will not contest that any second of the story you're telling could be repeated by anybody young or old in 2020.
You would have to pay first, second, third, and fourth month's rent and security, and you'd have to have $10,000.
So we decided we wanted to live in Santa Cruz because it was next to the ocean and it was beautiful. So we pull in. I mean, we still have at this point we still have the Toyota.
Right.
It was no longer the Toyota.
But you do not have an apartment, and you just showed up to
we
Santa
just showed
Cruz.
up. So I get a copy of the Santa Cruz Sentinel. We look, available November 1st. Cottage on next to the amusement park on the ocean, $120 a month. Available
it's
immediately.
in this island. It goes like this, and then there's the wharf area,
Right.
and you're in between these two streets. I don't even remember what they were. But then you had the point.
Front Street was one of them.
Front Street, okay.
Positively Front Street.
Yeah, well, that was the bar.
That was the bar. It was Positively Front Street. Yeah. Washington Street was the other one.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, we just pulled into town, got this place, and anyway, do you remember the name of the guy who Ira? Ira was the Ira. He was this old guy. He wanted to get rid of the other guy, but we let the other guy spend one night with us because he. We
were kind.
We were kind. He spent Halloween night there, and he spent 1st of November, and then he was gone. $120 a month.
$120 a month.
Right. We each had our own bedroom.
Again, this is Santa Cruz, California.
On the water.
On the water.
Basically, on the water.
On
the water.
Right,
Yeah. It was remarkable with all utilities included.
I'm just the entirety of this story.
Yeah.
trying to be executed now
No.
would be 4 different true crime documentaries.
Well,
something would happen before you reach Kearney,
Yeah.
Kearney itself, the Oakes Ames, and then trying to find an apartment in Santa Cruz for $120 a month.
well, imagine doing the same thing the year prior in San Francisco, ending up on Potrero Hill.
That was actually a much nicer place, and that was only 60.
Well, that's beyond. You know,
actually,
the fact of the matter that you pull into town and then you know 2 people, and all of a sudden, you know, you stay there, and then you got to rent. Keith and Dwayne and I ended up in a rent right across the driveway
from us.
It's crazy.
It was
the whole
crazy.
thing is crazy.
I know, but it was great.
You could do that unplanned if you were like
Yeah.
a direct or second degree relative to the Sultan of Brunei. But currently, I can't see any other kind of proof like that.
The guy kept singing when we were growing up. Come to San Francisco, wear some flowers in your hair, and we didn't forget that. That was what it was like then. But
Boy, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
But
the price we're paying now for all that wonderful luck and experience is that we're getting awful close to 80.
Well, shit, don't remind me about that shit. I hate the 70s club. I really.
Oh, you're going to love the 80s club.
Oh, fuck the 80s. I'm not.
There was a Freudian slip if there ever was one.
These 70s were fun.
That was the truth coming out. That was the truth coming out. You don't want to be 80 more than I do.
No.
Grandma always said
the 80s. 80s. I didn't say 80. I said I want to get to 80, but I didn't say anything about getting any older.
That's the police.
The Pope's calling you back. It's an Ozzy one this time.
Oh. Bristol. No, I'm going to get to
Naveen, all this stays in again.
Well, think about this.
Okay.
Dwayne and
Fractals.
and Dave King and Keith were biking across country. We finally got to the Mississippi, and we decided, this is getting really difficult. Let's get on the bus. We boxed up. It's an incredible story. We got the bikes boxed up, got on this bus, ended up on Market Street in San Francisco. Where the hell am I? I live in Barkhampton, Connecticut.
Right.
I've never seen the city before, and we know 2 people.
You were
we
finally
know
in Winston.
Dawn and Tom, and we found them, and they were generous and
Stoned.
And I mean, how the hell do you end up there with a rent in 1-2 days?
Yeah. And Andy Knight did the same thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
that's it.
It's pretty gosh darn good.
Yeah, but nothing's happened since then.
Right.
Oh, well, lots happened since then.
Should we save that for another podcast?
Sure.
That was literally just a text from Mom.
What'd she say?
Yeah, probably.
Should I read it on mic?
What are you guys doing?
She said, I just got a text from 2 different popes. She said, well, this is,
Oh God, she's making dinner tonight? And I don't
she said, absolutely no hurry, comma, but could you give me an ETA on what time to have supper ready?
What time is it now?
6:07.
Tell her 6:30.
Are you sure?
10.
Are you sure?
Well, we got another beer to drink.
Oh, we do?
All right.
Sure. 6:45.
Then
Quarter
you could be
seven.
15 minutes late.
6:30.
7.
Tic-tac-toe
board. It's going. Listen. Okay.
6:45.
All right. Mom.
Is there some bad math there?
Just make it 6:45, and you could be 15 minutes late.
Okay. That's okay. Naveen, keep all this in. Mom, I'm going to say 7:30, and we're going to try to get there early.
Whoa,
Okay.
that's way late.
Well, but if we get there early.
But Solveig is generally in bed by 9.
No, she's not. She's never. I'm the one who's in bed by 9. She's
Really?
She watches these shows right till
Oh,
10
well,
o'clock
right,
every
right,
night.
right.
Oh, okay. So when she was working, she was in
Right.
bed by 9.
No, she always. I always. go to bed before
Mom's
she
thing now is it'll be like 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
She'll just watch like this. She'll be watching these shows
does.
about these
Hallmark or
two British doctors who are always sad. And that's kind of yeah.
Ay.
Naveen, leave all this in. Mom, sorry.
No comment.
Okay. I'm going to say 7:30-ish.
7:30.
7:30-ish.
7:30.
7:30-ish.
What time is it now?
6:10.
That's a long time.
It was a long
Yeah,
time, but we
yeah.
can
I'd
get
say
back early.
6:45.
Yeah.
You could be
It's a
about
tactical-
15
okay, so
minutes
Norm
late.
how
wants
about-
us here to 6:45, so make 6:45 should be.
I'm going to say 7-ish. How about that?
Yeah.
That gives us a margin of error in both directions.
Yeah, he might be ready to get rid of us.
Oh, well.
Not yet.
No, it's getting close. He's got to eat too.
Okay. And I've just been handed a giant misshapen plate.
It's called Treenware.
It just says number 4 on the bottom.
No, it's Treenware.
Dreamware.
Yep,
Dreamware.
Yeah.
that's what it's called.
I think
Okay.
we should go after we finish this last beer.
We should go after we finish this stuff.
Right.
That's why I said to Mom,
Moochers.
7-ish.
beer off of me and you're going to leave.
Right.
Oh, okay, we'll stay 5 minutes after.
No,
No, we'll stay till 10.
I don't have enough beer.
We'll have to bring out the Southern Comfort.
What's the Norman D. Mears 1979? Is that the year you became a professional carpenter?
Well, I had to make my house sign.
Oh, that's for your house.
Yeah, so
But I thought we were working on your house in 1980.
no, I bought the property in '79, so I had to make a call.
Oh, that's the year that you made the.
So it's you can't put 1979 and then add 35 years to it and have two different dates. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm not following.
Do you understand?
That. No, not at all.
Not,
Okay.
not in the slightest.
All right, I
That's-
bought the
yeah.
property in '79.
Right.
79 and plus 35 seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, and
Okay.
it took me at least 35 years to build the house.
Okay.
Okay, so generally people build houses within a 12-month period because they hire somebody and they buy everything off the shelf, and I didn't. I made everything.
Okay.
Okay, everything.
What are you opening that
The
with?
floor.
With a large size tape measure,
I have never
a
seen
Stanley Power Lock 30-foot.
that. He can
Okay.
open these with anything. You give him a fingernail.
I mean,
and
this
he'll do it.
this is literally proving that. Okay,
Okay.
for the podcast listeners. Okay, actually, Uncle Normie, could you describe like the tool? Because it was unremarked upon the first time, but
It's a
look
very
at how scarred up this thing is
That's
on the perimeter.
well.
Yeah, he hasn't measured anything with this thing in 20 years.
No.
It's been for beers.
No. So it's a very primitive computer.
Primitive computer.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's called a.
He works on a fractal basis.
No,
Okay.
not even. It's a tape measure, and it has eighths and
Eight,
quarters.
probably also 16. Down to 30 seconds.
Well, yeah,
how fine grain are we
16th.
getting?
Yeah, 16th, because carpenters they're not going to split the atom or anything.
Right.
So
They're not going to split those hairs.
no.
So, how do you feel about the brand of Stanley tape
It
measure
fits-
compared to the competitors?
I love the Stanley,
The Stanley is the
and
best.
it was made in New Britain.
Oh,
or it
wow.
used to be.
Yeah.
New Britain.
No possibility anymore.
Was the capital for Stanley products.
Now it's made at Kearney.
Who knows where the hell it's made?
That's made by Kearney's.
But I never liked any other tape measure other than Stanley. It just fits my hand. It's not bulky. It just does its job. And
It does
opens-
everything it's supposed to do.
and it opens the beer. And it's a
Plus the
computer. Without a tape measure, I'm stupid. So it's
He
very
could open
good.
the beer with this thing. He could, no problem. I guarantee he could.
It would be shorter to list the things in Uncle
He
Normie's
could.
workshop where it is truly interesting. Every corner you look in this wood shop, you see
There's things
interesting
of
tools, history. There's
Did you,
something.
did you see the thing of Bush over there? That's a pretty good one there in the dartboard.
So John,
Yeah.
that bowl that I just showed you
Was this a wood turning?
was turned
Explain.
out of that piece of wood right
Okay.
there.
For the podcast listeners, could you explain the basics of wood turning real quick for anybody who might
Well,
not know?
the bowl or the plate I just gave you was turned out of hard maple.
Okay. Is maple an easier?
No, it's hard.
Okay.
And it's tiger stripe. You see the tiger stripe?
Did you
in
just
there?
make that?
Yeah.
You did?
I didn't just make it. No, it's
Oh.
been a while.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a hard maple out of a piece of slab wood from a sawmill.
Can you show him your instrument there? I mean, that's pretty interesting. You got to see this thing. He makes bowls out of this thing. Well, it's true.
Podcasting is an audio medium, so maybe maybe
Yeah,
after
there's
we
no
wrap up the
visuals
board.
here.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's tiger stripe. It's unbelievable wood, and we're watching all of these trees die right now all around us. It's very sad.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, so are the trees.
So here's a question for you, like about your carpentry work.
Yeah.
The guys and I on the podcast sort of did a episode recently. We mostly kind of talked sort of pop culture thing, movies, other divergent sort of topics. But we recently decided to do an episode. We talked about things that we've learned and creators that we like just on YouTube. Okay, things that things are either kind of funny or educational or engaging. And as part of that, we did like a little research ahead of time to kind of like look at like what is YouTube in 2025? How big has it gotten?
Yeah.
How popular has it gotten? Ballpark. If you had to guess, how many public-facing YouTube videos do you think that there are currently in 2025?
Do I think there are?
Yeah.
It's got to be. Well, I worked for a man who owned a machine shop once
Okay.
in Manchester,
Hmm.
and we had a nice relationship, and we sat down once, and he says, "Yeah," he goes, "I was having a hard time getting help," and he says, "I was interviewing this gentleman." He says, "Well," he asked the person because he wants to know what his qualifications are, and he says to the guy, "Well, how many thousandths in an inch?" And the guy goes,
How many thousandths?
"How many thousandths in a 1 inch?" And the guy goes, "Oh, there must be 1,000,000 of them."
That's an answer.
Okay.
That's
So,
certainly an answer.
in the
Okay.
YouTube universe,
Sure.
the way things are going, gotta be 1 billion.
1 billion. Do you want to go higher or lower than 1 billion?
I'd stick with
I
the
told
billion.
Dad this the other day, but
I mean,
if you want to make a guess, how many? This was fascinating because we did on the podcast we recorded the other day. We did Price is Right rules.
okay.
Everybody my age remembers when you were sick, and especially if your grandmother lived nearby. You remember
Yeah.
like being sick, staying home from school.
Yeah.
Going to visit your grandmother, watching Price is Right with her. So you always have Price is Right rules in your head. And that's very easy idea. Closest you can get without going over. That's the person
Right.
who wins Price is Right.
Yep.
So we did Price is Right rules. How many public-facing YouTube videos are in publication right now around 2024, like 2025? Dad, do you have a guess?
Well, you asked me this before, so I can't guess.
Okay. So, 1 billion. Do you want to go like higher or lower on that?
I'm gonna stick.
You going to stick? You going to stay with that? 14 billion is the current number on YouTube, estimated. For how many? And like in a way to kind of put like a little more context on that, that is 1.5 YouTube videos per person. On the face of the planet.
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know what's always amazed me about the internet is, I mean, we barely got off the ground in the late 80s with this, right? Barely. There wasn't
It was a Defense Department project at first.
yeah, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
You know? And then all of a sudden, all of this content, we'll call it content, but it's everything.
It was trickling out. It's text. It's low bandwidth.
How the hell did all this stuff get on to this ether?
Right.
I mean, 14 billion? Are you kidding me?
14 billion.
How many million in a billion?
Well, literally 1,000.
There's 1,000 million in a billion.
Well, yeah, there's not that many.
That's a lot.
That's literally the definition. Yeah. Naveen, add a Wikipedia link to yeah.
I mean, your mind just goes
1,000 times 1 million is a
like
billion.
I said. My simple world revolves around a 30-foot.
Well, what I'm curious about, with all this information that's out there right now, have you personally in your work, in carpentry, has like the availability? Because like the wood turning thing got very, very popular online. Like a few
I could
years
go
back,
on to YouTube
Uh-huh.
and I can get a demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Right.
I could subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
I could pay for that, or I could just watch.
Right.
I don't have to subscribe.
Right.
It can come in on my email now.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, you know me. I'm all thumbs. I don't know shit about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. But the fractals, like.
But I do know about fractals.
So okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I think YouTube is very useful. I mean, you can fix your stupid washing machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? It'll tell you how to take the covers off. It'll show you what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. It was a wild moment to me when I had to replace the cabin filter on my Sentra. Search for it on YouTube, and there was 3 distinct videos on replacing cabin filters on Sentras, not for Sentras generally, for the specific year of my car. 3
So when
different
you
guys.
say cabin filter, this is something that you need when you're living out in the desert?
I think it's something you need for like running your car generally. Uncle Normie's been just off the top, chips the popcorn. He wants the bowl as well.
Oh,
So here, give me that.
Right.
Give me no
The
no,
bigger
no,
bowl.
No
The
no
bigger
no,
bowl.
no 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 no.
That
Give
one?
me that. Give me that.
why don't you want this one?
No, give me that.
Why don't you want
No,
this
give
one?
me
It's like
that.
I grabbed
Okay.
the wrong.
Give me that. Give me.
Okay.
Is this going to be my bowl?
Yeah, come.
Could I have this bowl?
No.
Can I have this bowl?
Here.
With this bowl. Oh, more chips.
This is also going on YouTube.
Jesus.
Thank you.
Adding our numbers to the 14 billion.
14
It's scary
billion.
because we talked about when we did our episode. We talked about YouTube made my cooking better. Naveen was talking about how music education, like there's so many more resources to fall back on.
Yeah.
Eric for the comedy that he really loves. Andy for some of the just like the videos and like a lot of the artistic things we do. It's wild the resource that you just have to fall back on that you can largely just kind of get access to for free. I'm curious about kind of looking at like this wood turn bowl, like if you want to kind of go in within carpentry, you want to learn a new skill, you don't kind of want to be able to kind of do something kind of better or different, whatever else. That must be like a really sort of that must be like a major resource these days, right?
I think it's a resource. I think we're starting to lose serious skill sets.
Okay.
Right? That's just my feeling. I don't see children outside playing anymore, and I wonder what the hell it is they're doing. But it just everything has changed. We're evolving towards whatever,
Right.
and I can learn how to do wood turning. It's if you look at this machine and you look at all the tools I have, most of the wood turners would go, well, you're not going to use half of those. Okay, so I'm an amateur,
Sure.
right? I've got a $10,000 investment right there.
Right.
Okay, and to learn, be proficient, it requires time and a good teacher.
Right.
And that's what we need.
You don't have
People
somebody
think
to
that
teach you
they're
on
going to
that?
get everything done on the keyboard, but the keyboard is really handy.
You can watch something kind of once and get like a vague idea, but the
Yeah.
actual physical experience, the actual human practice
You've
is
got
what
to
makes
be
the
in the
difference.
physical world, okay?
Sure.
It's very important, Whoa. This is a bowl I turned. My first bowl. I haven't turned one since. If I can get it off here without killing myself.
Oh, beautiful.
I turned that bowl
Uh-huh.
on that machine.
For the listeners, could you describe a little bit about like the
This
bowl?
is a black cherry burl
Mhm.
that I turned. Was my first turning for a bowl, and I haven't turned one since.
Gorgeous.
And it has a hydro coat finish. It's probably 50 coats.
50 coats. You did.
50 coats.
Now how does a hydro coat?
It's
finish
just
actually
a
work?
type of finish. It's a water base. It's very involved. You leave it on the machine, and I got it to be this high gloss. It's a high gloss hydro coat. And then I
For the listeners, beautiful, shiny.
Didn't you sell one to Dwayne too?
Well, I sent him the this is the tiger maple. See, this is a slab. Okay, this is cut on the. Okay, you see the blue paint.
Sure.
All right. So if I cut this, and then I just do a round, and I drill for my chuck. I can hold that and turn it into a plate. Okay, called treenware. But this project here, I'm still amazed that I got this done.
Beautiful.
And it's a cherry burl, and I was going to make a lamp out of it. And I had the top on the lathe. This looked a little bit different. And I blew it up.
Right.
Just an accident.
If
Because
you
I'm
were
not
to start your
proficient.
own YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and again, these are things that, as we said earlier,
That's what
is
people
you
are
can
doing.
go out to the planet, potentially further out than the planet,
Yep.
depending. But if you were going to do your own YouTube series for beginner carpenters, what would be the first 3 lessons?
Oh, jeez. Oh, boy.
Go closer.
How would you process? See, John, when I process wood in here,
Okay.
I'm using a lot of native wood. That's full dimension lumber.
Sure.
And I'm processing it into what I need. So I'm using a jointer, I'm using a planer, I'm using a table saw, I'm using
Fundamental
a
tools,
shaper,
right.
I'm using a band saw, and that makes, it gives me everything I need
Right.
when it comes to, flat, square, so.
For learning carpentry for the first time, is the first skill set, is the first things you need to do to kind of wrap your head around tools, be like, how do I get these cuts at this measurements at 90-degree angles?
Yeah, that would be
important.
important. Yeah. My whole career has been, I live in a rich environment of resources.
Sure.
I've had all these sawmills to take all the oak and the pine and the hemlock and
Right.
all that stuff and make it into things.
Sure. Sure.
I
Literally,
didn't
what
buy
you
it
have
off
growing
the
in
shelf.
your front yard, in your backyard,
Yeah.
what you can find, like sort of like lying on the
It's
road
out
these
there.
days. Yeah.
But things are changing. But I mean, it's just been a resource, working on your father's home. That's 200 and what?
25.
225-year-old. And that's been my niche. My niche was to work on old homes.
That's
And then I could learn from
Yeah.
that how to make things. Okay, moldings, reproduce moldings, doors, my whole house is made out of native lumber.
It's interesting what you remember about very early memories of kind of coming up to this property for the first time. I remember coming in and there not even being like a house where your home is right now, but the scaffolding, and
Yep.
then my father taking me up to like the second floor of what was just a wood skeleton of a house,
Right.
rather than
Yeah, the frame.
sure.
Yeah. So that's called a timber frame. So timber framing, there's a renaissance to it. So back in the 70s, because we had the Back to the Earth movement, there was the timber frame renaissance. I got interested. I got a design off of a book somewhere. I would never build one like that ever again,
Right.
because I built 36 other buildings, over
And
time.
then you learned and you iterated. on
Yeah,
that
you
knowledge over time.
learn. Oh, this is better.
You wouldn't have built your house the same way, then, you're saying?
I would not build my house the same way. I would put all the embellishments in it. I would put the chamfers, the lamp-slung stops, all this stuff. I would put that into it, but it wouldn't be constructed the same way, right? So,
But these are slow things. These are iterative things.
yeah,
And you very slowly accumulated the difference between like the right and the wrong way.
yeah.
Just kind of approaching things.
Yep. Having good, sound, professional carpenters around you will speed it up.
Well,
Sure.
And then your innate abilities.
yeah. Well, when you built this house, you had those carpenters.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Big time.
I did. Yeah. And I mean, here I am. So that house, see, people say, oh, I built a custom house. Well, what did you mean? Well, they bought the things off the shelf and then put it together. So they call that custom. And, it's kind of a bullshit term.
It's not especially custom if the majority of the work you do
It's
is
not
prefabricated in some way.
So I could, I don't call my house custom. It's not. But, so I wore myself up. So I had 33,000 board feet of material in my yard. 33,000 board feet. $11,000 invested at the time. You can't buy the windows and doors for your house for that much money.
Right.
So I had all the pine, all the oak, all of the poplar, all of the hemlock that I needed. I had all the framing for the exterior walls. I had all the sheathing. And then I had to make the flooring. I had to make the windows. I had to make the doors. I had to make the trim. Okay? The siding. That's all from the native resources here where we live.
Nothing that you had to sort of bring in from like a larger radius than.
Well, just within 10, 15 miles. So, self-taught with good guidance.
With good guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With good guidance.
And where did that guidance actually come from?
That was the people around me.
Okay. Neighbors, there's other guys in the neighborhood that do the
Remember
work.
Glenn Lipscomb? Glenn?
Okay.
Remember Glenn?
Yeah.
I do remember. Glenn.
Yeah. I mean, Glenn's a extremely talented individual. But you have to have some innate ability. Okay, you can't do computers without some innate ability. All right, you just can't. I can't do that job. No way.
For the listeners, he's pointing at the fractals again specifically. But
Well, I could do the fractals if I took some acid, but
Have you ever
What do you
Have you ever seen Fantasia?
Oh yeah, I would love to see it again, actually.
Right.
But yes, I think I was really fortunate to be living in New England. This would not have happened in California.
sure.
It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. You don't have the resources. You don't have like the access to natural resources. You might have not had the immediate expertise down the street. It would not have been.
And there's talent like there's no tomorrow in California.
Well, sure.
There's talent in New York City,
Right. Yeah.
right? But they don't, if you live in the city, you don't understand the country.
Right.
Just like you can't put me in the city.
A memory I have, such a strong memory I have of like the 3 odd years I lived and worked in Lower Manhattan.
Yeah.
This younger coworker that I had.
Yeah.
One of the most talented people I've ever personally worked with. Like a brilliant computer scientist, a brilliant mathematician. She did her undergrad degree at MIT and her graduate degree and her doctorate at Princeton University. but her family was New York, was based out in the New York area, and she always talked about. I don't know so much about Manhattan. I kind of grew up in the suburbs. We worked together about a year. She kept on saying, "I grew up in the suburbs," which I figured sort of I figured Utica, or I figured Long Island, or I figured like Westchester County.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I found it later to her the suburbs were Brooklyn Heights, and then I found after that she could literally see from her parents' townhouse the Statue of Liberty.
And she called that the suburbs.
That was the suburbs. Right.
That's funny.
So even though she could see the Statue of Liberty,
Yeah.
she was technically in a different borough. So it was like a different kind of
not Tarrytown.
Not Tarrytown.
Not
Not Hudson on Rhine, or not right outside of Vassar College.
Right.
Just whatever.
That's funny.
Yeah. These things are so kind of interesting, kind of subjective. Like,
Yeah. Well, you had to meet me at Grand Central, was it?
Grand Central would have been beautiful and sophisticated.
No.
And
Where
easy.
did you meet me that time?
I will tell the story. Let's
train.
wind the show down on like this story, because I think it's a good one. Dad will remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Uncle Normie reached out to me, and he said, "I need to get to JFK Airport. What is your advice? Do I drive down?"
Were you going to Spain at that point?
Spain.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, there's actually a very inexpensive and very easy way to get to JFK Airport from Connecticut, but there's a couple different steps. It's very cheap, but I will, similar to Dwayne, the LSD Sherpa.
Yeah.
I will guide. I wrote to Uncle Normie. If you are willing, I will guide you through the New York public transit system to get the JFK Airport for about like $20. So.
Yeah. I wasn't so worried about the money as getting there.
Right. But I'm like, it's not that hard to do. But my advice at the time was drive out to, I believe it's New Britain. There was an Amtrak. There was a very small Amtrak stop.
Actually, I got on the train in Hartford.
You got on the train in Hartford?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then it wasn't going to Grand Central.
It was not going to Grand Central, which is a beautiful, lovely, sophisticated.
I've been there.
You are you're going to Penn Station.
Penn Station, thank you
which
very
is
much.
one of the world's. I can say this with some confidence, having been to 48 other states, 19 other countries. Penn Station is one of the biggest shitholes I've ever personally been to.
I have to say, I would agree with that.
Astounding. So, I told Uncle Normie, get on the train, come down to Penn Station. I will find you in Penn Station.
Boy, that was a miracle.
And I will help you through the transfer from the Metro North train you have to do to the Long Island Railroad.
Yep.
And you get on the Long Island Railroad.
Yep.
You go a couple stops to Jamaica Station.
Yep.
Long Islanders have a saying I really, really like, which the Long Islanders apparently, they say, you can't even get to heaven without transferring at Jamaica. That's always stuck to me. So you had to get on the Long Island Railroad and then get on a monorail at Jamaica Station.
Yeah.
Boom, you're in. You spend about $20. You're at JFK. You're done paying for parking, and you can just reverse that.
Yep.
Take public transit like all the way back. But I wrote to Dad, and I was pretty sure that I said, Dad, make sure that Uncle Normie pees before he leaves for Penn Station, because public bathroom options are not fantastic.
And I got there and I had to pee.
So we'll get to that. So I take a couple hours off from work. He was just coming in like Wednesday afternoon to Penn Station.
Yeah.
Uncle Normie gets off, and all I was doing was guiding him from one side of Penn Station to the other side of Penn Station.
The fact that we even found each other was
a miracle. But Penn Station, old Penn Station, I've not been to the new one yet, but there is like a state, like there's a saying about sort of Penn Station where it was like the old Penn Station, the old like 50s, like 40s and 50s and 60s Penn Station. It was like a king arriving at Coronation. The new Penn Station that existed until about like 2018, 2019 was like just the experience is like a rat running through a maze.
Oh, it was bad.
It was bad. So Uncle Normie gets off the train at Penn Station. I figure out immediately where he's coming from. He gets off the train. He's carrying his giant duffel bag. And he goes, John, like, how you doing, Uncle Normie? He goes, John, I have to pee. So I'm like, this is, well, you can try. You can try. So we got like 20 minutes till like his Long Island train leaves. We go kind of like bathroom situation. This is
They
Penn
had
Station.
signs
Okay,
to
so
a
I'm
toilet.
getting to it.
Jesus.
It's multiple generations. He abuses the storytelling like this. But so I'm like, okay, let's try to find the men's room. So we go one direction. There's signs, men's room. We get to the men's room, and there's a closed sign with like an arrow pointing to the right. It said, "This men's room closed. Other men's room this way." I'm like, okay, let's. And it feels like we're walking in a long circle for the entire time.
Yeah.
And finally, we get to like a second door that says, "This men's room's closed. Open men's room this way," and it's an arrow pointing the exact opposite direction we just came. So I'm just like, we gotta walk to like the center point and just like kind of pee on a wall. Like what's actually? Yeah.
Well, we ended up in this little courtyard delivery area. I remember.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know how the hell I urinated, if I ever did.
I do not think that you did.
I think I just got on the.
I think we went to the first men's room. Go to the right. We got the second one. Go to the left. I'm like, let me just kind of put you on the train. There may or may not be. Then we got Uncle Normie on the Long Island Railroad. I think I high-fived him or something else. And I said, "Good luck."
Right.
Just finding you at Penn Station
was a miracle.
Unbelievable.
Right.
That because that place is nuts.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my. You know, I'm just.
Well, they're trying to redo it.
Well, that's okay. They can do whatever they want with it. I'm never going back.
Yeah.
But you know, I just the city is not my forte. I'm just not prepared for that kind of madness. Yeah. You know, I go into doctor's visits and I'm in these corridors and I go, how do I get the hell out of here?
Right.
There's no sun. There's no trees. I can't navigate.
You're a child of nature.
But he rescued my ass that day.
Yes, he did.
You know. And it was funny because when I came back in, you know, I knew I had to get on this certain
I told Uncle Normie, just do what we did. Just do it in reverse.
Do it in reverse. So when I got into Penn Station, my pass wouldn't work. For some reason, I did it wrong. Something happened.
This would have been Jamaica Station. You got as far, I believe, as far as the monorail, and then you have to scan a pass one time, say $3 to get through a turnstile to get to the railroads. And I just looking back, I should have just met you at Jamaica and sort of Sherpa, like Dwayne style, kind of Sherpa'd you on like the way back, just help your return journey.
So I get there and my pass wouldn't work. So I said, "Fuck this!" I go through the goddamn turnstile.
Not through the. And then you climbed over it.
I climbed over it.
Yeah. Black woman saw you.
And this huge black woman, she was the police. She goes, "Well, stop!" You know, I go, "Well, I don't know. This thing wouldn't work. I had to go."
Right.
And she goes, "Well, you go over to that window over there and you get another ticket." I mean, I have nothing against her, you know, but I just thought it was funny as hell, you know. But that was just, I don't know what happened.
That city is chaos on its best days.
Really. You know, they can keep the city. I don't care. You know, I mean, I like cities. Don't get me wrong, but
really?
I don't like living in them. I don't know how to navigate them. I don't know what to do.
New York is its own specific sort of pain in the ass.
What about Torrington?
It's not a city.
Sure it is.
No, it is not. Not even close.
Of course it is.
No, it's not. Oh. It's not a city. No.
What is it?
It's a town. It's not even close. People are walking around in their pajamas and stuff. I don't get it.
Well, they do that in the city.
Yeah, I know. But I thought, the fact that I got off the train from Hartford,
Right.
and you were standing there, was more than I could ever have thought. Because in the moment, it was total chaos.
Yeah.
How was I going to find John?
Right, and there you were.
I remember that day. I wore a very, very bright red sweater. It's a turtleneck. I'm not good with bright clothing. I'm not good with sort of like sweaters or turtlenecks, like especially like it was just. I don't like having my neck covered. Like that's always another thing. But I'm just like it's just.
John, I would have never made it to the Kennedy. I never would have made it there.
Yeah.
No, yeah, John
No, I
was
would've
like-
been
Certainly not would have gotten to Spain.
So when I left Spain, Chris drives me to the train station to get to the airport, and I think I'm on the right platform.
Right.
I get on the wrong train.
Okay.
Okay, that's what all you need to know. So I'm on the wrong train, and I'm going. I don't know where the hell I'm going.
Yep.
And so I turn to somebody and I go, "Is this train going to blah 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 blah?" And they go, "No." You need to get off on the next platform and take the next train going the other way, and that'll get you to the airport.
Okay.
And it saved my ass.
Yeah. Okay. You're lucky.
Right.
I was lucky
Yeah.
because I don't know anything. I can't navigate this stuff. I need a tape measure. See this? Stanley 30-footer.
There's a memory I have. This is years and years ago, but it was Dad and you, and Tim and myself, and we ran. It was a random trip out to New York City, and Dad for some reason wanted to take a peek into the Waldorf Astoria Hotel.
Right.
Okay, what was it? What was the hotel?
Not
the Waldorf.
It was the one right on Grand Central, not Grand, the one right. Oh my God, I can't remember anything.
You guys walked right in.
Okay, so again, Dad's going to get there.
No, I won't.
Okay, yeah. The Pope a third time. We're not due back another 15 minutes, Mom.
Bridgeport.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, so I go to follow you guys into the
So it was I walked right in, and Dad walked right in.
Yeah.
And Tim walked right in, and the guard stopped you, and he said, "Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Are you staying here?" And you went, "Yes." And then he went, "Can I see your room key?" And he just went, "Peter!"
What's the name of that? It's where the Beatles stayed when they came.
We were talking about
59th
We were talking about Bridgeport 2 hours and 20 minutes ago. How did
Jesus.
Bridgeport come up?
Oh.
It was something that was really
that
nice.
was WPKN.
Yeah.
And Woodstock.
Okay. That sounds like a good place to kind of like wind down.
But when we were in New York that time, we went to that small little theater, and we saw King Lear perform.
Macbeth.
Remember that?
It was Macbeth.
Macbeth?
Macbeth.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh yeah. That was up. Yes, I do. That was uptown. Yeah, we said that was good.
That was really uptown. Well, it was my memory of like that production of Macbeth was we were in the second row. It was a theater about a sixth of the size of like the wood shop we're sitting in right now.
Yeah.
And then before the play started, like we were all sitting in the second row. There's a single guy.
I know where you're going.
Grinning ear to ear, sitting in the first row. We sit down and he turns around.
Yep.
They're doing like an Uncle Normie step on the story. Like let that.
I won't step on it.
Okay. He turns to us, grinning ear to ear, and he just conspiratory voice. He says, "Sometimes at these Macbeth productions, the witches, they do it topless." and like a little fist bump. So me, I was probably like 16, 17 at the time. I'm like, okay, like theater, art. Let's kind of see what happens. So the witches all come out fully clothed and doing it and performing the witch soliloquies, like they all have Down syndrome, which was a very odd choice.
Right.
But the second the witches came out fully clothed, the guy
He was out of there.
conked
He
out.
fell asleep.
He fell asleep. He simply fell asleep during the soliloquy.
Really?
But then he actively snored for the next 2.5 acts.
Wow.
Macbeth that we saw afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely remember any of it, but I do.
You were so
remember
freaked
it.
out by kind of like going into the hotel. And like almost kind of
I remember the hotel. They caught me right away.
Right.
They did.
They would have
just
sent you to
remember-
Rikers Island. Like that would have been.
But I remember when we were walking around the outside, their dining room was totally. You could see in. You know, you could see all the money and everything. You know, it's pretty funny. But, yeah.
Anyway, why don't we wind down on that?
That's why I rely on your father.
No.
I can't believe I can't remember the name of that hotel.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the Park Hyatt, or it was
No,
it
Not
was
the
something.
Waldorf.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Waldorf? No, no.
I don't know.
Plaza Hotel.
The Plaza Hotel.
Plaza.
That was at 59th Street.
Oh, okay. We end up on the plaza.
Or in the plaza, that's right. And we all walked in there, no problem. You walked in there and you look so guilty.
That's the Catholicism.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the guilty conscience. Yeah.
Plaza.
What's the
That's where
church?
the-
What's the
St.
big
St. Peter's.
St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's?
Not St.
Yeah.
Peter's.
So I walked into St. Patrick's.
All the candles blew out.
I had to
All
be
the
with
stained
you.
glass cracked.
Wasn't I with you?
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you
And I had my ball cap on.
You wouldn't take it off.
And one of the people there says, "You gotta
You showed
take
the
take your cap off." And I went, put it back on, and walked out the door. Oh, fuck you, you know. I don't. You cult. They're all cults, you know. I'm glad this is turned off.
Thank you for the beers.
It is not.
It's not turned off.
This has been going the
This is
entire
gonna get me in
2 hours and 20. Well, with the popes maybe. But,
John, if
yeah.
you make anything out of this conversation, bless you there, laddie.
Okay. The V, this is all on you, buddy.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you both. The adults are all right.
Okay.
Rebels Without a Pod. And here we go.
Do you know about fractals?
Yeah,